Hello, welcome. It is the Synth Network Show live, episode 163, unbroken record, 163 consecutive shows. Who'da thunk? Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us. If you are new, well, welcome, and I hope that you enjoy your first taste of the Synth Network live show. If you're old hands, well, you know, welcome back, and still can't believe that people come back and just watch this rabble of noise and nonsense that goes on for 2 hours on a Friday night, but we're very glad that you do. And this week's show is going to be a very sort of relaxed pace because it's post Superbooth, so we are going to be talking a lot about Superbooth and our experiences there. Because Ben and I and a bunch of other people attended, one of which is going to be joining us today. I'll introduce him just a little while. I'm kind of filling here because Kent hasn't arrived yet, so we're just kind of going to give him the old man a chance to wolf down his tea and scramble upstairs and hit the button. Either that or he's had serious Mac Studio issues, because he was telling me the other day when I was on the phone to him that he was going to try and plug that all in, and maybe that's not gone as planned. But anyway, he's got an iPad, so he should be able to get in. Anyway, if anybody knows where Kent is, if you've seen him around anyway, just give him a nudge, wake him up. Anyway, so yes, as I said, Superbooth was this time last week. I was just actually saying to our guest, this time last week, we're sitting down to a lovely meal by the side of a road in Berlin and being aggravated by really bad street dancers. I mean, they weren't good. They just weren't. I gave them some money just to make them go away. But more about that later on. Welcome to everyone. Before we do crack on with that, just a quick reminder. If you haven't already, please do like the stream just by clicking the little thumb at the bottom, or dislike it, whichever you feel is most appropriate. If you want to chat with us or comment, then of course you've got the YouTube chat, which exists over there or maybe under there, depending on how your screen is set up. Of course, if you are watching catch up, then thank you ever so much for coming back and watching us, and you can leave your comments down below. You can subscribe to the channel. That would really help. We've had a little spurt of subscriptions since last week, which I don't know if that's Superbooth related. Ben and I were representing on the Friday with this. It has been in the wash, don't worry, because it was very hot and sweaty. So yeah, do subscribe, and of course if you know anybody else that doesn't currently watch the show that might enjoy it, then please do ask them to come along and check it out, whether it's live or catch up. We do have some great guests, slowly but surely filling in our guest slots. We haven't had a guest for a little while, like, you know, I don't mean any disrespect to our current guest this week, but we haven't had any kind of big name sort of superstar guests as we used to have. Because people have been busy and stuff, and it's very difficult to nail them down. But nailing them down we are, and we actually booked one in just the other day, and maybe I'll tell you who they are a little bit later on, so you can put that in your diaries and come and join us. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling there. Don't forget, you can also find us across all the social media channels, whether it's Twitter, Instagram. Of course, the main group is on Facebook. And, of course, right here on YouTube. We are streaming, of course, on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. So welcome, whichever platform you're using there. I think most of you tend to use YouTube. But we can see your comments and chat here. So please do let us know if anything. If you have any questions for us or our guests or about anything during the show, then please stick a big capital Q in front so we can easily pick that out. And if you want to make a donation to the channel, which is super appreciated, you can do that through PayPal. The link is in the description below the video, but there it is on the screen. And of course, you can use YouTube's own payment methods, whether it's Super Chat, Super Sticker, or the thanks button if you're watching on Catch Up. Right, that is all that stuff out of the way. Kent has still not arrived. I don't. Is he anybody? Oh, hang on a minute. Talk of the devil, and he shall appear. What's occurring?
Ugh.
Where you been? Did you fall asleep, old man?
Oh, I bloody wish.
Yeah.
I had a CS80 going out today, this afternoon.
Yes.
And the guy literally turned up about half an hour ago.
Git.
So we loaded it all up into the car, and he came in the smallest car ever designed by man. But we got it in there. Mind you should have seen us trying to get the Macbeth into a smart car. That was yesterday. So, yeah, everybody's happy. La 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 la. All the rest of it. He had a quick try of it.
Okay.
Very very happy guy. Huge erect penis going out the door. Lovely. Cool. Wave him off, and as he's going up, another car pulls up.
Oh, no.
I went, what's this? And the guy gets out and he goes, oh, I bought the MS-10. You were supposed to be here yesterday. Oh, yeah, but I couldn't, so I'm arriving now. Oh, okay, so grab the MS-10. He wants to tell me everything is wrong. I go, okay, all right, thanks very much. And I'm like, if I had a watch, I'd be going, but I didn't. Bring that in. Cool, right, off he goes. And as he's going up the road, a van pulls up, and it's a guy with another CS80. So I go, all right, need the trolley. Off we go get the trolley. Bring it in. He's going, right, this is wrong. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll just turn it on. I'll find what's wrong with it. Go. And off he went. Come upstairs, get everything ready, turn on all the computers, get ready, go, I got nothing. I'm late. And turn everything on, sit down, get the mic set up and go, right, cool. I won't be able to hear anything. My headphones. Where's my headphones? My headphones are missing. What? Oh, we were testing it on the CS8 downstairs. Run downstairs.
Relax. And scene.
Yeah, it was just like, for crying out loud, man,
dear.
please give me a break. So, yes, I apologise for my tardiness.
No.
But I was waylaid by people with stuff.
Well, it's what you do for a living, so we can't deny you that.
Not for much longer.
Well, yeah. Anyway, are you well? Other than that, are you well?
I am very, very, yeah.
Perpendicular.
Yeah, I'm perpendicular. I'm doing it. Did I hear the dulcet tones of Mr. Jim?
You did.
In the background. Did you see his set last
indeed.
night?
Hello.
I didn't.
Well, you
no,
did. Yeah, I know Jim did because he was
of course he
there.
did.
But you know.
No, unfortunately, I didn't. But it's available on Catch Up somewhere, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'd assume
yeah,
so.
I'll
yes.
do that then, yeah.
The wonders of YouTube.
Absolutely, Mr. Electron, right there.
Yeah,
Indeed.
absolute.
You should see. Yeah, he was creaming himself last
I
week
mean,
when he saw the analog effects.
of all the kitten ticklers, he's my favourite.
Kitten tickle.
Thank you very much, Ken. Appreciate
Well, there you go. There's a tagline, for your next gig. Jim Glew, of all the kitten ticklers, he's my favourite. Ken Spong. There you go.
Yeah, like that.
Oh dear.
Well, Andrew,
Anyway, yes.
Andrew
I'll
as
get
well.
Zoe to put that on my press release.
There you go. That's it. Everyone, Jim Glew. Jim's joining us. Welcome. Of course, Jim was. He stalked me and Ben all weekend last week. He was on the same flight in the same hotel. He ate at the same restaurants. No, it's brilliant.
Should have been worried on that flight.
Yes. We will talk about the flight later.
Yeah.
That was yes. That was a very interesting. There's certain things you just don't do in airports or on planes, and Jim did one of the worst. But we'll talk about that later. Have you had a good week? Have you recovered nicely from last week's exertions?
I've literally not stopped all week.
Really?
It doesn't feel like it.
Because you were gigging on Sunday, weren't you?
Yeah, so I got back late Saturday night. Had a gig on Sunday. Played that, which was a brilliant venue. Just hadn't been promoted
Is that
very
the
well.
Hairy Dog or something?
The Hairy Dog, yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
400 capacity venue, decent PA system and lights and stuff.
Nice.
It's like, yeah, so it's a good experience still playing it. And the people that were there really enjoyed it, so that's cool.
Good. Well, that's the idea, isn't it?
Yeah, and then had the EMOM last night.
Cool.
Then got this tonight. Got a 2-day festival over the next 2 days, which I'm playing at tomorrow.
Cool.
And I've organised a load of acts for. And then on Jamie's show on Sunday. And then
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
then yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just busy. It's good.
Indeed, it's all good. Well, brilliant. Look, thanks ever so much for coming on because the reason I wanted to get you on, other than you're a decent chap, but the fact is that you were there with us at Superbooth. You experienced everything we experienced. Unfortunately, Ben, as you can see, isn't here because Ben's gigging. How dare he? Honestly, priorities. Come on. So at least we've got two of us that were there. And if you were at Superbooth and you saw us and either you couldn't approach us or didn't feel like you could approach us, or we were maybe too busy, or we ignored you, or anything like that, really sorry. But thank you to all the people that did come up to us and say hi. People we've never met before who just showed up. There was a guy, I believe, I want to say he was from Canada. I know how sensitive it is, so I'd rather say he was from Canada and have him be from America rather than the other way around, because Canadians don't like that. And I think he was from Canada, and he came up to us. Me and Ben were just sat on the steps in that sort of main sort of plaza area in front of the lake stage. I say lake, it was only about this deep, but it looked nice. And he just came and says, "Ben, Rob," and we're like, "Okay, do we know you?" Because we keep forgetting that we're on the internet, and lots of people kind of know who we are. And so I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, I'm," and I can't remember his name. And this is terrible. I can't remember his name.
Was that Ray? Was it Ray Malone?
No.
Oh,
No, it was I don't think so.
Right.
He was a very tall, good-looking young guy. But anyway, he said he watches the show on catch up. So I'm sorry, I forgot. It might have been Matthew. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So he comes up and he shakes our hands. And he says, "Oh, great! I watched the show on catch up, and I really love it." And it's just people we don't know coming up and appreciating this stupid thing that we do every 2 hours on a Friday, which is very cool. And then, of course, people like Carl Bedford, who just bounded up. Actually, he didn't bound over, did he? He was shouting names and then bounded over.
Jim!
Force of nature. So lovely to meet Carl Bedford. Lovely to meet all the other people. Ben Breslin, got to meet him at last, although I can't. There he is. Carl Bedford's just popped in the chat. So got to meet Ben Breslin in person, although I've had plenty of conversations with him online, so I kind of felt like I kind of knew him. And we met the gang from GeForce, all the development team. So Graham, of course, Jerome was there as well, who's kind of running a lot of the business side of the venture there now. So really great to sort of speak to those guys. And then, it was just super cool. And of course, we bumped into Mark Barnes and his lovely wife Cheryl. Jamie Morden was there. So there was plenty of time sat around a picnic table on the plaza, drinking beer, and admiring the synthesizers and talking about all that kind of stuff. It was really good. So so to everyone that we met, if you're watching the show, thank you for saying hi. Oh, of course, how could I forget Mr. Mike Metley? Sorry, Dr. Mike Metley. Who was on the Butte stand, and we met, obviously Kim was there as well, and the lovely Diane. It is Diane, isn't it? He'll tell me if it's not. And of course, we had we didn't get to spend a huge amount of time with Mike, which is really disappointing because we just didn't have time. Like Thursday night, we were shattered. We'd been up since stupid o'clock in the morning. And then Friday night, I'll tell you about Friday night, but we had a dinner date with synthesizer royalty, and we could not say no to that. And then, of course, Saturday, we kind of pretty much seen everything, so we went and did something else, which we'll talk about as well. But I'm kind of spoiling all the stories now, so I'm going to shut up. There's a few news things that we'll talk about. But first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to this guy over there, Kent, and of course to Andrew Longhurst and to Ty Unwin, who did a brilliant job last week of running the show
and getting me banned.
But that all kind of fell by the wayside and got sorted.
Have you got your commission from Apple yet?
No, but we're able to make a little bit on that video now, thankfully. So for those that didn't know, and I have to apologise, if you came to watch last week's show on catch up, it only went live about 2 days ago because the guys showed a clip of the Apple promo video for iPad Logic and iPad Final Cut Pro, and Apple shit the bed, basically. Well, no, I guess it's one of their bots or algorithms did that, and instantly put a copyright claim on it. And for the first time in my experience, not only did they stop us making any money on that video, which is not a lot anyway, we weren't going to miss it, but they actually blocked the video, the whole show. So we had some options, and we could have edited that bit out, but doing that kind of messes up. It deletes the live chat, which I know some people like to watch over again.
Absolutely.
We could have muted it, but then they could have still done us on the visual side because that happens. So because I've had to deal with this plenty of times in my day job, I have some pre-written, kind of dispute claims, and it's just very polite, and you tell them why you're doing it, and blah blah blah. And this is what we do. And we're pretty much nobodies, so if you wouldn't be so kind, could you please release the video? And they did. So credit to them, they they responded and cleared it, so it's all good. So mustn't grumble. But lesson learned, okay? Don't play alcohol.
Out of all the videos that I did get to work.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I've got a few tonight. For the first time, I'm actually thinking, should I? But they're all people we know, I think. Well, most of them are. 2 of them are. 1 of them isn't, but we'll speak about that later. Yeah, not a lot of news this week, surprisingly, because it all came out last week. We'll talk about stuff like that in a bit. Before we do, I do want to say thank you. First of all, to our moderators in the chat, one of which has donated, as he always does, the silly fool, another £5 to the Superbooth fund, shall we call it, from now on. Another shameless cash grab. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Brooks. And, of course, Ben from Musines. That's not his full name. Found that out to my cost recently. But thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Ben, for moderating, and thank you there for the donation. Most appreciated. Steve, who goes under the name of Ixorb. Last one from me till payday, another $4.99. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Much appreciated. And Mr. Show Carpet himself, maybe give a couple of bucks to Jim towards a Somaretha for when he travels. That's of all the things I'm going to ask you, Jim, a little later about what you regretted not going to see with. That's one of the things I didn't, but I know that I could probably pop round Kent's and play one of those, can't I? You got one of those?
Apparently, yeah, you won't have to wait long, apparently.
Okay, cool.
We'll see.
Nice. But yes, a sealed box with no sketchy wires. That's alluding to a story we are going to come on to a little later. But thank you, Andy, for that. And who took some video? Was it you, Jim, who took some video of some carpet and floor and tiles?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Flooring and carpet.
We feel that we've satisfied that. Of course, Superbooth being, I would say, 80% outdoors. Overall, maybe a little less. The carpet is green and it's grass, and it was lovely weather. Absolutely stunning.
There was some sand. There's a beach as well.
Oh yes, there was a beach. Yeah. I didn't realise that. I was looking at an aerial photo. There's a big auditorium, an outdoor auditorium. All right. Just to the side. Obviously, it wasn't being used, but bloody fantastic that. DTscape in the chat. First of all, I hope you're feeling okay. He's had his wisdom tooth out today. I don't think they do 2 in a go. So he's had a wisdom tooth out. So I hope you feel better. He also wants to know when Hans Zimmer's coming on. Well, apparently Hans was supposed to. Well, yeah, he's always on. He's there every week.
He's always on.
Always there.
He's a regular.
I didn't see him at Superbooth unless he only went for the press day, so he didn't get hassled. Maybe he did the Wednesday. Superstars and all that. But
you've got me for that.
We'd like to know that as well when he might be coming on, but we're working on it. Okay. Also, when's Tony Banks coming on? There's one I would love to get, and I do kind of know someone who knows, or maybe could put us in touch. So maybe we'll try and get that one sorted out.
Well, I put a flea in Daniel Miller's ear yesterday.
Oh, speaking of whom.
Yeah.
He brushed past me to get a bloody... What is it? What is that drink that they have out? It's not alcoholic. It's... No. It's a bottle of... It's like a fizzy soft drink, but it's something I've never seen before. He had a bottle of that. But yeah, he sort of not push-bust, but brushed past me to get to this drink at the bar. But yes, Daniel Miller was there. There's quite a few familiar faces. Jason wants to know, how did Superbooth differ from what expected apart from beer on tap? We'll come back to that one. And Matt Evans says, wasn't there some woman called Michelle? Some old girl. She sort of.
You said that on record now.
Hanging around like a bad smell. No, she was. Again, that's a story we'll come to a little later. Anyway, if you have any other questions for us, please do stick a big capital Q in the front in the chat so we can pick them out. I also want to, before we crack on, want to say hi to Grace Griffin. Had a little chat with Grace today, and Grace has done me a huge solid. I'm not going to go into details, but thank you, Grace. Me and the missus are super excited. Right, let's see. Let's do a couple of bits of the news, and then we can get into the Superbooth recollections and our feelings. And before we do, Matt wants to know where you got your shirt, Kent.
The airing cupboard.
Oh, no, hang on a minute. The airing cupboard, very funny. I think my battery's run out. Oh no, I thought my batteries ran out of my trackpad. I wasn't able to do anything.
I can't remember where I got this from. Honest to God, I really can't.
We might have a problem here, kids.
What's up?
My trackpad has just... I have no idea what's going on here.
Do you want to use mine?
Yeah, that'll help. What on earth has gone on here?
You better charge it.
No, it's got batteries in it.
Oh.
The light's on and everything.
Right.
But of course, I can't check it. Oh, this is fun. We're off to a cracking start here. What did I do? This is odd. Right, let me just try...
Come on, Jim, fill the space.
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves while I panic here. I've got to... let me just do a restart. I've had no
what do you think of my new monitor?
Oh. I can't...
Took
It's,
two
oh, hang on
people.
a minute. I was thinking that doesn't look like a proper screen, and then I realised it's still in its box.
Yeah.
But it's
two
on
people. It took
It's
to
on
carry
a
it up the
short
stairs.
edge. My
Oh my
word.
god. Oh my god, really? That's
Yeah.
It's taller
that's
than
that
me.
way. Right.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the world's smallest computer and the world's largest monitor.
That's going to fill your window.
It's going to be his window.
This is all coming out. It's all been rearranged,
Cool.
including
says-
Gladys, who is the little tiger spider that lives in the window here.
Gladys.
Yeah, Gladys.
Yay, we're back in the room.
No flies in here, mate. I tell you. Good on you, Gladys.
There we go. Right, okay. So hopefully that won't happen again. Right, okay. Let's do some news before shit goes wrong. Let's do this one first, because you guys probably haven't had a chance to see this yet, because I think it only sort of... Well, the video dropped yesterday, and it within one day it had nearly 150,000 views, and it's their first and only video. It's their first ever kind of... Yeah, so it's about a new thing, and it's called the Noppia. And I'm just going to play a little clip of the beginning of the video, and you'll get some idea of what this thing does.
Hey there, my name's Martin and I'm going to show you around this instrument. Noppia is a semi-modular MIDI chord generator. It functions on the principle of tonal harmony. But what is tonal harmony? For those not familiar with this concept, it's enough to understand that tonal harmony is a language that works in relation to choosing one of these notes as a tonal center. And it's literally everywhere. It's impossible to overstate how much we hear it in music. In this language, chords function as degrees, which describe how they work. I felt that there was no hardware that tapped into this universal essence of perceiving chords as degrees, let alone offer it in a way that makes it fun to make music. So we built Prototype 1. For this
Stop there, because it's about a 7-minute long video, and it's very interesting. It's very clever what they've done, in as much as this is, as he says, is kind of the first hardware box I've seen that does this kind of stuff. So in essence, you've got the little kind of piano style keyboard, and then you've got the little piano layout button keyboard, and you choose your key with the buttons, and then every note you play on the keyboard generates a chord based on the note you play that's within the key that you've selected. Okay, so you select the key of C, and you'll get all the chords that are in the key of C that relate to the key of C when you press the particular notes on the piano keyboard. So we've seen this stuff before in software. Chord Jams, and a nice little plugin that does that. Reason has a whole bunch of players, one of which can do something very, very similar. Then you've got an arpeggiator. So whatever chord you've got playing, the arpeggiator takes all the notes and arpeggiates them. You've also got this little bass thing. So it's essentially two buttons. The first button gives you the most common sort of root note for the chord that you're playing in a bass tone. The second one gives you an alternative, so you can just, have a little bit of variety going on. And then you've got the synth engine, which at the moment seems to be sample-based. So it's a sample-based synth engine. I don't know if they have any plans for anything else. All of this can be clocked. So the arpeggiator can be clocked to any incoming MIDI signal. There's also a looper built into this thing as well. Have I forgotten anything? I don't think so. Oh, and there's some of the knobs, like the big knob in the middle, if you're playing, say, the chord of C major, as you turn it from left to right, it will go through all the different inversions and then the variations. So you can go C major, C major 7, C major 9, and so on and so forth. So it's a kind of a complexity thing. Left is very simple, right gets more complex. So it's kind of that thing. Now, what we saw on screen is, as they said, it's a prototype. That's not a finished design or anything. Although when we looked at it, we thought it sort of smacked a bit of something Critter and Guitar-y, or maybe even Love Holton, although maybe not as well finished.
What it made me think of was, you know how you have these amazing people who can create things that are actually cakes?
Yes,
it looked like it was a cake.
It did look, it did look eatable. That's very eatable, edible. I used the right word there. Honestly, Andy Brooks would be right. Talking of Andy Brooks, we could have done with him last week, couldn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, but yeah. So this is, I've not seen this in a piece of hardware, and I kind of like the fact that it's hardware because there's plenty of software tools that do it, and I can see this being used either as a compositional inspiration tool. You just sit there and you sort of start, if I do this in the key of this, these are the chords, and maybe I'll come up with some sort of sequence. I can also see this in a live environment. One of the other things, there's a slider, a left and right slider, which allows you to kind of blend two sounds, or go from one sample to another sample. Watch the video; it's really good. Any thoughts on this? Would this be? I mean, Jim, as a live performer par excellence, would you see yourself using something like this to come up with chordal arrangements?
Not necessarily that. I mean, I could see it as if I didn't actually want to lug all these bloody boxes that I've got in here to a gig. I could see myself doing something with that instead. And I mean, on the actual video, I could say that I was just zoning out, listening to the guy's voice and what he was playing. I was like, this sounds really nice, actually.
Yeah, he's got a very AMSR voice. Yeah.
If you'd played that video for 2 minutes more, I would have been fast asleep. Yeah. So, no, I did like the sound of it. It's cool. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, the sound, like I said, I think it's a sample-based thing. So the sounds are just kind of there. But later on in the video, he talks about full MIDI connectivity over USB, TRS, and or 5-pin. They do want it to be a standalone thing rather than something that relies on connection to other things, be it hardware or software. But they also have developed a tool within Ableton Live, so I'm guessing whether they're using Max for live or whether that's something I don't know. But they've got something. They showed something on the screen so that this tool recognizes what's happening in the box and then interprets it into live. So it's an ambitious thing. It comes from Buenos Aires, which I didn't think had much of a electronic music, certainly an inventive electronic music scene. Although he didn't sound very Argentinian.
No, really.
So either he spent a lot of time over here, or maybe he's moved. I don't know. Who knows? Kent, you're sort of looking there, slightly puzzled look.
He sounded more Etonian than Argentinian.
This is true. What do you reckon?
My mum always said to me, if you can't think of anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But
okay.
I never listened to her. This is auto-chording, isn't it? This is Karma, isn't it?
It's
I did.
Yeah, it's kind of Casio auto accompaniment type thing,
right? Yeah,
but with a bit more. I think there's a bit more going on.
No, in my experience, when you use this kind of system, it always sounds like you're using this kind of system. When you create chords and play them, there's drag sometimes between one chord and the next, and all these nuances that you don't get from this kind of system. That said, that's in relation to if it was given to me and say, "Hey, do you like this?" And I go, "No," but there are obviously certain genres of music it will fit in, it will work. But yeah, there's this thing, isn't there now, of creating equipment that looks like 1974 front room decorating schemes, doesn't it? They've got these, lime creams and
It looks
strange
like cake.
coloured.
I'd want
It
to
looks
eat
like
it.
a cake. It does. It's
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a cake, bring it on. I mean, do not get between me and cake.
Woman
That's
of
a
the
big
cake.
thing. Aye,
Yeah.
love a bit of cake. It's kind of a portable autocorder, I suppose. But I didn't think there was a need for this, but good luck to
Well,
them.
you say that. I mean, I sometimes will sit
I
here.
live in a tiny world.
No,
You know what I mean? It's
But I sit here sometimes with Reason open, and I'm just sort of like thinking, I feel like I've got this, and I can't really think of where I want to go with it. So I open up one of those players. So they've got a chord sequencer, they've got scales and arps, they've got all these different little tools, and you just drop them in and attach whatever instrument you want to them. And then you can start messing around, and all of a sudden you find, that's the thing that I was, because I'm not, musically gifted in any shape or form. So I need a little nudge here and there, and that points, that can point me into the right direction.
from that
So I
point
guess
of view, absolutely, yeah. But for me, create when I do a track, if I do like a big orchestral piece or something like that, I have to find it myself. I won't. As Ty would say, that's fucking dated, kind of thing. So for me, no, but I can see the use for it. I mean, the old Cool Karma was a bit of a lump anyway, and you could always try dragging in an Oasis to a gig with you if you have a lorry. So I can see where this would fit in, but it's an autocorder to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know what's
Tastes
under
like.
the hood here. Well, yes, but I'd like to know what's under the hood. Is it something? Is it like a Raspberry Pi stroke? One of these little boards. Apparently, it can at the moment. It's got something like 400 odd chord variations in there. So depending on the key you're in and the complexity of the chords, it's got over 400. And I think they want to put more in. And as you see, I mean, you look at that keyboard, it looks like somebody's taken some Kit Kats and just sprayed, broken them off and sprayed them. There's one key, I think it's if you go from the left to the right, they're all a bit wonky, but there's one there that looks like it's got a split in it, so it looks like they kind of built something and it didn't quite fit. But it's a prototype, let's give them that. And it's generated a huge buzz. Say it was over 150,000 when I looked, or near 150,000 views in just 24 hours, and they've got more subscribers than we have, and they've only done this one thing. Yeah. That's how much of a buzz.
I must admit, I would hazard the guess that I have some chords in my arsenal, but I'm not in that box.
Yeah.
So when you get to that point. So it depends. It depends on the musician themselves. I would see that as a writing restriction, whereas to other people it would be an excellent leg up.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise that this was a thing that was needed. But
Ian Cole has a point here. 400 plus chords. There's only 3 in the truth that matter. Very true.
4 lolly mers.
Yeah, it's I'm all for ingenuity and that little. So you see this in the what's on the left of this image. There's a little like PlayStation joystick thing there. That does some funky stuff as well, more than just like pitch bending. As a whole, it seems like they're onto something. Certainly with the buzz that's been created, I'd like to see what they eventually come up with the next prototype, and they do say that they're going to try and keep the price as affordable as possible, but these things all depends, what's under the hood. If it is just like a small teensy or a Raspberry Pi or something along those lines, then it could be quite an affordable thing to do. We shall see. But that is the Nopia, not Nokia, which is what I kept typing when I was writing this up. It was Nopia, Nopia. If you want to follow them, they have obviously they have their YouTube channel. I know that Ben posted up a link to the article on Gear News, and all the links are in there as well. They've also got an Instagram page, so you can follow them on there. There's no website or anything. It literally is very, very sort of early doors. But go give them a follow, give them a like if you think they're doing some good stuff. And who knows, we might see the Nopia back on our screens fairly soon with something else. And I'm sure because it is at the stage it's at, any ideas or suggestions, I'm sure they would very much appreciate. Oh, and there you go.
Still wish it was a cake.
Still wish it was a cake. Maybe at the launch they'll do a cake that looks like it.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. I'll have some of that, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That is the Nopia prototype 1. Right, let's see, what have we got next? Yes, our friends from Cherry Audio have announced something new, and it came out just the other day, and here is the video.
In 1939, Hammond introduced one of the first fully polyphonic synthesizers, the Novachord, a revolutionary instrument that used a staggering 163 vacuum tubes, 1,000 custom capacitors, and weighed 500 pounds. Soon after, Hammond used components originally designed for Novachord to create the Solo Box, a compact monophonic under-piano lead instrument. In the following decades, the Novachord graced countless movie and television soundtracks, and the Solo Box continued to be used well into the 1960s. Now, for the first time, our friends at Cherry Audio have brought these two Golden Age electronic music classics back to life. Novachord plus Solo Box. Featuring the groundbreaking tone generation and ADSR techniques that continue to influence today's electronic instruments. At last, the chance to have these masterpieces from yesteryear in your home. Today. 2 legendary instruments, 1 low price.
Nice carpet.
Isn't it? Yes. Isn't it? Yeah, so there you go, Novachord and Solovox. Cherry Audio continuing to, buck the trend and do stuff that nobody else has really done before, because as far as I'm aware, the only Novachord software versions there are all sample-based. This is completely modelled from an actual Novachord owned by a father and son somewhere in America. I'm not entirely sure where. But yeah, they've modelled the Novachord, and it sounds very Novachord-ish. It doesn't have a, it's not a broad palette of sounds. You're kind of going to get one kind of thing, and sort of very fine variations thereof. The Solovox actually is the one that got my attention a lot when I was playing it, because it does have more of a character and something that's more usable. But yeah, this is a pretty cool little thing. It's only $39, so this is the sort of thing you're after. Lap it up. It's great. Kent, I'm going to ask you, have you ever had your hands inside a Novachord? Because they are...
Oh, a Novachord. No. Mainly because Surrey has a weight limit.
Yes, this is very true.
I think I know it's logistically difficult, but that promo video should have had an English person speaking on it. And it was hey, say, pretty lady, get away from that and get in the kitchen. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've got them. I've downloaded them, and I've played them, and they do exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
For sure.
When the projects I worked with Steve Howell at Hollow Sun on was the Hollow Sun Nova Chord library, which I think is probably the most well-known one. So that Nova Chord, was it 349? Oh, Jesus, I can't remember the number of it now. They only made about 1,000 of them.
Use your Argos skills.
Yeah, I know. Oh, man.
Did Argos sell them?
But the one that the one that he, I don't know, I'm not that old. The one that Steve sampled belongs, or I'm assuming that Danny still has it at Hideaway Studios. Danny's a fantastic tech, and she does a lot of Jean-Michel Jarre's sort of repairs, and has been out there a few times in his studio. But she bought her Nova Chord from Mark Doty, and it was dead as a dodo. In fact, it almost burnt Doty's house down because he left it on too long and it just caught fire. So
they do tend to do that.
Yeah, so they take they took that thing and they shipped it over. There's a great website. If you go to hollowsun.com and look for the Nova Chord page, there's I think actually it's novachord.co.uk. I'm sure that Ben or Andy will probably find that and stick the link up. But that will give you the whole history of how Danny repaired and restored that, and then Steve went in and sampled it. And what I was trying to get to after that lengthy story was that the basic sounds on their own are pretty, meh. So Steve had to really kind of flesh that out with lots of variations that used the sampler's programming capabilities and lots of effects and stuff. So you had to kind of really, mess around with it to get something that was really interesting. And I actually wrote a whole track for the Reason version. When they did a version for Reason, I did the demo track, and me and my friend Mickey said we are going to use 100% Nova Chord, even the drums. So we had to mess around with all sorts of filtering and stuff to get some sort of form of drum sound going in there. But it was good fun. It's a challenge. It was a limitation. I don't see you using this much in your live sets, but would this be something you would consider tinkering with at all, Jim?
No, only for very specific kind of things. If I was producing, say, I don't know, something a bit more sort of down tempo, with a certain sort of slightly retro vibe or something. But yeah, no, it doesn't really fit my style.
It's quite niche, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Or as the Americans say, which really annoys me, it's really niche.
Yeah.
I know. Niche.
No, they missed the trick with they should on the demo version of that. It's sort of like every 60 seconds or something like that. You just had animated smoke pouring out of the back of it.
That would be a feature, wouldn't it? They did that. Peter Vogel did that with his Fairlight app. Every now and then it would randomly not boot up and smoke would come out, especially if you chose the wrong voltages. Or the disc would get stuck and it would just go, and the only way to do it was you shook your iPad, and then it was just, silly little things, but it kind of made it fun.
You get the whole experience that way.
Indeed, yeah. UIs again designed by Mal Meehan, who did this. He did the first one was the Mercury 6 that he worked on, and this is yet another one that he's done. But it's typical Cherry audio in as much as it's very well presented, very kind of low, small footprint, and you get two instruments for the price of one. You get the Nova Chord and the Solo Vox.
It doesn't have the carpet on there.
Yeah, it doesn't have. There's no carpet, but the valves on the top of the Solo Vox do glow and change depending on what you're doing. So that's a neat little touch.
Does it start arcing as well?
No. Well, if they do, I don't know because I haven't used it that much. But yeah, it's a complete faithful recreation, front panel and all, of the Nova Chord. So if that really is your thing. And the Solo, I had no idea about the Solo Vox, so I'm taking their word for it that it's a faithful recreation. But I don't see why it wouldn't be. This would sit underneath the main keyboard, so you keep banging your knee on it every time. But this is before they sort of came up with the let's put it on the top. Again, it's a Hammond instrument, and it was being sold right through to the 50s and the 60s. This one, so interesting little thing. But yeah, there you go. It's $39. I believe Thomann have it at 34, Plug-in Boutique about 44. It's not part of their synth stack. I guess when they do the next iteration, it will drop into there. But yeah, there you go. Lots of demos on the website as well. Very faithful recreations. What was, I believe, the first polyphonic synthesizer, 1939. And the guy that designed this, well, there's three people that designed it, two of which designed the Hammond organ, one of which was Mr. Hammond himself. So, and when you open them up, well, you'll see the pictures if you go to novacord.co.uk, which thankfully the guys have posted in the chat. You can see it's just an absolute, it's a mess inside. There's something like, what did they say? It was like over 500 custom capacitors.
1,000.
1,000, yeah, 1,000. And then it was fully polyphonic. Here was a funny thing. The Nova Chord was fully polyphonic, 72-note polyphonic. It had 12 oscillators all divide down that gave it that polyphony. The software instrument only goes to 32.
We've gone backwards.
It's gone back to... They don't make them like they used to. But there you go. Cherry Audio's Nova Chord and Solarvox is available now from Cherry Audio themselves or from other places. There is a free 30-day trial version available as well. So if you want to give it a go to decide whether it is for you, because it is very specific, then yeah, have a go with that. Right, we'll talk about the final piece of news, because it's not really news. It's kind of been out for about a week, I think, or so. But let's get on to Superbooth. And Ken, I know you weren't there, but I would like to know. I mean, I'm sure you've been looking at the various videos, and I'd like to know your thoughts on what you saw there. But I guess, well, let's start at the very beginning of our excursion. So I don't have holiday snaps. I'm not like one of these people with a slideshow. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I am. So here we are. This is on the Thursday. We just arrived. We were going to our hotel. And, of course, this is the Fernsehsturm. I hope I pronounced that right. I hate saying anything German because I know Andy's in the chat and he will kick me in the doodahs. But yeah, it's
Slanger.
You can't miss it. Pretty much everywhere you go. It's a lovely thing, and I've been into that ball, as they say. It's a fantastic view across the wonderful city that is Berlin. So yeah, we flew out at what time was it? It was about 10 to 8 in the morning, I think.
Yeah.
You'd stayed the night before at the hotel near the airport. Me and Ben and I, should I say, drove up from here. So it was an early start. And it was all pretty good, and we got to Berlin on time and
without being shot.
And without being shot, because, well, first of all, Ben and security. Okay, these are two things that don't go well together. So Ben, I'd upgraded us to fast track security, which is there was somebody else in the fast track, and they said, it's they came up with some clever name for it. It's just a little faster, a little less pain in the arse track, I think that's what they called it. So we went through, and Ben hasn't flown for over a decade, I think, so he's a bit unfamiliar with the process and the procedures. I had told him about liquids. You're not supposed to carry more than 100 ml of any individual liquid, and if you do, you have to put them in a clear plastic bag and then put them separately. He didn't, and he got a bottle of really expensive deodorant that had to be binned there and then. But he got pulled over, got checked again, swabbed and everything. Not Ben, the bags got swabbed. And they put him through again, and then he got pulled over a second time for something else they'd missed on the first run. So that was good fun. So we were waiting there. We met Jim, the other side of security. We get on the plane, and we're flying across, and it's a Ryanair flight, so it's nice and kind of very simple. And I looked down the cabin, and I could see the back of Jim's head, and he was talking to one of the air hostesses. I'm very conscious that Zoe's in the chat. I just thought, oh yeah, Jim's sly old dog. He's chatting up one of the air hostesses. Didn't think anything of it. We get out of the plane, and Jim reveals to us, Well, Jenno, you tell the story, Jim.
Yeah. Okay, so some of you know that a while ago I built a DIY electrosluice for picking up electromagnetic
Tell people what they are, because someone.
So I've actually got it here. So
Okay.
it picks up electromagnetic interference from wherever, and you can get some really interesting noises for sound design. And I had it in my bag on the plane. I thought, I bet there's some interesting sounds on here. So I decided to get out my Zoom recorder, which is, looks fairly innocuous, and my DIY electrosluice that doesn't look quite so innocuous. It's like this black box with an on-off switch.
Outside of an airport,
Yeah.
it's a little black box.
It looks dodgy enough, sort of outside of an airport, but on a plane, at 30,000 feet.
Yeah,
and
moving around.
Yeah, and I'm waving it around, and I'm getting some amazing noises, and I've got this stupid grin on my face because I'm like going, oh my god, this sounds incredible, oh god, I mean, the people next to me looked a little bit concerned. The guy in 11B, honestly, I saw the colour just drain from his face. Poor guy, he just, honestly, I think he's, just like myself, thanking God he's alive or something. But yeah, and anyway, I'm there, and the stewardess walks past, and I'm like, I suddenly catch myself and realise how bad this looks. This like homemade black box with an on-off switch and antennae and stuff coming out of it, and I'm like, I bet you're wondering what I'm doing right now, and I sort of explained it to her. She was Italian, and I was there thinking, I hope she understood what I was saying, and it made sense to her. And but then the doubt started creeping into my mind, and I'm like, oh my god, what if she didn't understand that, or she thought that was just my cover story? and then the main air steward guy started looking quite nervous as well, and then they all disappeared to the back of the plane, and my imagination is running wild at this point, going, oh fuck, they're going to radio through to Berlin airport, they're going to storm the plane, and I'm going to get shot in the head. They'll be like, 11D, take him out now. And anyway, we touched down, and I'm just like, I'm kind of like waiting for this to happen almost, and then it kind of didn't happen. I'm like, okay, that's strange. And I'm walking out, across the concourse. I'm like, nope, still not been shot yet. This is good, And like eventually, I'm like, thank fuck for that. Needless to say, I didn't get it out on the return flight.
No. Didn't you bump into the guy later on? Either.
Oh yeah. The couple next to me in 11E and F, kept bumping into them sort of on the train and stuff, and it's funny. And they're in the same seats on the flight back. But thankfully the guy from 11B wasn't there. Honestly, he looked so worried, and that's when I kind of had the realization that this perhaps wasn't the best idea. It's like a real one for the Darwin Awards. Yeah, and I'm just so thankful to still be.
But as Ben says, did you put any of those sounds? Ben Bresnan, by the way, in the chat says, did you put any of those sounds to good use? Did you get anything useful?
Yes. Now, I mean, we could really do with talking to Cy Alexander about this. So, there's basically this sort of square wave carrier signal on the 737 that is just like, it's really nice tone, and it kind of like blots out any other sort of interference. It's just kind of really nice. And then when I pointed it to the floor, I got this sort of periodic sort of square wave going as well. And yes, Zoe, you were right, Zoe. But yeah, and but yeah, it's some really interesting noises which I will use because they're really quite cool, and there's a story there. It's quite unique, and yeah, I mean, I've been regaling people with this story at Superbooth and since. It's been quite funny.
Yeah, it's something to tell the grandkids. You'll dine out on that one for a little while, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm just so relieved to still be alive. Could have been a very different story.
Absolutely.
But,
scary stuff.
It was fun.
It was a great talking point for the rest of the few days. So anyway, we get off the plane in Berlin. We don't get shot. And we managed to get across to the hotel, dumped our bags straight to the venue. And for those that have never been to Superbooth before, I think probably the best way to describe it, and tell me if you have any different opinions, it is very much, if you've been to a music festival, that's kind of what it is. But the things you're going to see are not bands or acts. You're going to see well, actually there are some bands and acts there, but it's mostly gear and stuff. And you walk down this very long road. I say road, it's it's a very wide path that goes into this area called Fez, which is this massive kind of park with all sorts of amenities, and this this big building in the middle, and all sorts of grassy areas and things. And you go past the famous bungalow Dorf, which is where they have these little kind of wooden huts, little bungalows, and certain manufacturers are in there, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff, and the big sprinkler system they had, which was annoyingly, do you remember the girl, the Vietnamese curry girl was getting absolutely soaked, bless her. So Udo were in there, Harken Continuum guys were there, with Tip Top, I think Tip Top Audio were in there as well, there's a few others.
Yeah, Vermona.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what whether those are more
Bootler
exclusive or more,
yeah.
but yeah, Bootler were there. That's it. So there's that, and then if you carry on round, you then get into the main kind of site, and there's these large green areas where there's a whole bunch of tents with people in, different manufacturers, and then of course you got the main building. So inside there you had the likes of Yamaha, ASM. Bukes were in there, Yamaha, Sequential, Oberheim,
Electron,
a lot of the bigger, more exclusive-y type. Although there were others in there, Arturia inside there, and a few others. Korg had a big inflatable dome in the main thing, which was kind of cool. And then there's a building to the side, which is actually like a sports hall, which apparently wasn't open last year, but it was open this year. And that had loads of the Modular people in there. It had Modal were in there. Tasty Chips were in there with the GR Mega, which was, we'll probably talk about that. And of course, Bob Moog Foundation were there. Michelle, and we nicknamed it, well, Ben nicknamed him Hopper, but I think his name's Craig, that's it, yeah. Who's their new chief financial officer. He's got like 20 odd years in not-for-profit financials, and he's a bit of a muso, so he's the perfect fit. So yeah, we went sort of kind of straight over there, and this is myself and Michelle and Ben, who wore that hat. You can see my hair, right, is now gone, because it's like, this must have been late on Thursday afternoon. And Ben just walked around the whole time in his cap, which was crazy because it was really warm, because we drank lots of this, which was very tasty.
Well, you did.
Well, I did, yeah. Yes, me and Ben did, yeah. But yeah, so this isn't this is one of the numerous kind of entrance and exit points, and it's all very relaxed. You get your ticket scanned, and then they give you a wristband, and then there's just one person on the gate or on each entrance, just checking that everyone's got a wristband. It's very relaxed and very informal, and very nice. So yeah, we sort of did the whole rounds on the Thursday, didn't we? And by that, I think by the end of the day, it was, because it had been quite hot, we were all a bit. But you went off somewhere, didn't you? You got an invite from Jamie to go to Focusrite, I think. Yeah,
it's the Focusrite Innovation Sequential kind of party. That was at some bar that was about a mile and a half away from the hotel, and that was good fun. And there was lots of celebrity YouTubers there that I sat with Jamie. There was,
the Supertubers.
The Supertubers. There was Bo Beats, Jorb, Midlife Synthesis, Starsky Carr, and load of others. It was,
we didn't get an invite. No, actually, Jamie did say we could
free
come
beer.
along, but
free beer as well. Yeah. Well, free drinks, whatever you wanted. So.
Indeed. Well, do you know that the one thing that surprised me was quite how affordable Berlin is? I mean, I've been there before, but I was was with the missus, and I didn't really sort of like pay too much attention to it this time. Now I was kind of on my own dollar. I was like, it wasn't disgustingly
for a capital city.
It's very good.
It's very reasonable, and
the transport as well.
I know Ben Breslin and Carl will probably complain, saying everything was really expensive, but compared to like London and even Manchester, it's it's very affordable.
Absolutely.
Food
we went out with a he's been a Berlin local since like the late 70s, but he's actually from Manchester. But did you notice how he was like, they spent millions on this and it still doesn't work properly, and we were like, this city is fantastic, and I guess it would be like the other way around, that if somebody from outside the UK came to London, we'd be like, oh yeah, the bloody tube this and the bus is that and the ULEZ zone and all.
Always. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fantastic place. So yeah, anyway, so you went off with that lot for the evening. Ben and I went back to the hotel, had pizza, beer, and went to bed to recover for Friday. And then Friday was like the big day. It was we literally got there just after it opened and were there all the way through till the end of the day, which officially was 6:30, but it was kind of nearer 7, I think. By the time they started putting people on the doors saying you cannot come in anymore, go away. But
I want to say a thanks to Sam and Joe from musictech.com for the kebab. Very nice, thank you.
Nice. Actually, the food there was really quite nice. I was looking around thinking, well, there's not much kind of regular sort of. It was all a bit, vegan-y and all that. But actually, I had one of those. What was it? It was a kind of a curry, pumpkin curry with a little bit of chicken and stuff. It was gorgeous. So let's talk about what we saw, because we spent most of Thursday just like going around all the different places. So let's start. In my head, I'm going to start in the main hall because that's a good place to start. So we had Korg, which was showing the see-through microkorg, which it's a microkorg that you can it's clear. No big shakes there. Upstairs you had ASM. We met the wonderful Ken Flux Pierce, and he gave me a thorough demonstration of the Hydrasynth, of course, which I've never played before. So that was nice, and of course it's really nice to meet somebody you've known online for such a long time and you've spoken with and had great conversations. But there he was in the flesh without his mask, so no mask here because we're all healthy over here. I think mostly because the windows were open and everything was outdoors. But so we met him, and then behind them was this company. I'm just trying to. These guys, Synthesizer Studio Berlin.
Ah, yes.
And they brought some. Basically, what Synthesizer Studio Berlin have is a collection of amazing synthesizers that you can then go along and record at, or you can send them your MIDI data and they'll do the recording for you. And they brought. Let me see if I get this right. CS80, which was in very fine fettle. Jupiter 8. Jupiter 4, Prophet 5, Mini Moog, like all the legends were like there, and they were all playable. You could just pop the headphones on. Mark Barnes was absolutely blown away by the Jupiter 4, wasn't he? It was fantastic. And then there was a lot more pro audio sort of your sort of thing, speakers, monitors, amps, microphones at that sort of top level there. And then you went to the other wing. We had Sequential and Oberheim. So they had the Trigon there. They had the OBX8 desktop. A few others. Did you get the chance to play with any of those?
Yeah, I had to go on the OB6. Very, very nice. Little go on the Prophet 5 and the Prophet X. Now, I was lucky enough to get a full-on demo by Chris Calcutt on the Prophet X, because I met him the night before at the sequential party thing, and he was saying, stood there with Starsky Carr, and he was saying about that was his like sleeper synth, and I was like, oh, you played that at the Sonic State EMOM, didn't you? He's like, yeah, and so I picked his brains on it the next day, and he gave me this amazing demo. It's a hell of a machine, that.
Yeah.
It could do a hell of a lot, including sort of granular stuff. The instant global microtuning thing is amazing. The fact it will just repitch all the samples to whatever weird tuning scale you can think of. It's really quite it sounded lovely. really good.
I wasn't blown away by the Trigon.
No,
No. It didn't. It's a lovely synth.
Yeah.
It's built well. It sounds nice. It just didn't make me go. Ooh.
Same, but the OB6 did. Oh my god, yeah.
And the OB8X, I mean, that's
Yeah.
or the OB8, wherever it's.
Yeah.
I can't get it the right way around. That's just a lovely thing. And the Prophet 10,
Yeah.
they had the Prophet 10 there, which was just really nice. So yeah, they had that. Electron,
Right,
analog
okay.
and FX.
Okay, yeah.
Here he goes.
I spent some time there and chatting to the Electron guys. I got there just after, just as Andy from Sonic State was finishing his video with them explaining it all, and I got to sort of pick their brains a bit and talk to one of the guy who did a lot of UI design on it, Jean-Michel, and another guy called Magnus, and who had brought along his Casio SA1. I'm like, I've got one of those. And it's just like, it's amazing. It was really cool, actually, the sort of stuff they brought along to play through the Plus effects. So, yeah, it's some real quirky stuff. It was a good choice, I think. So they had, like, digitacs and digitones and stuff, but, they had, like, a weird zither instrument and just a tape recorder with some noise on and stuff. And, yeah, it's really quite interesting. But I mean, I looked at that, and I mean, beforehand I thought, what could Electron sort of bring out that would actually be any use to me, because I've got everything I kind of thought I needed from them. But when it came out, and I'm like, oh my god, they've done the analog heat with the effects that would be really cool to sort of have, because I have the analog heat after my Octatrack in my live rig.
Yeah.
And to be able to have like delays and reverbs and other effects on there, and so I use the LFOs and stuff to sort of really mangle stuff and do kind of like rock and roll endings on a couple of tracks in my live set. But they said a lot of people were using the analog heat as very much a sort of set and forget kind of thing rather than a performance tool. And Electrons are so good as performance tools, and so having all those effects in that box. I was just like, this is just going to be like next level stuff where I can just like let this reverb decay out as I like, or have it an infinite reverb as I then, change patches for transitions and stuff. It's amazing, because I've reached the point in my live set where I'm like, I really need to be loading new projects on the Digitact, and in order to do that, I need to fill the space a bit, because I don't like dead space in my, between tracks. It's just not how I want to do live sets. I like sort of smooth transitions between tracks and stuff like that. So, so yeah, I mean, a lot of people have sort of looked at that and gone, well, it's not for me. It they're just rehashing stuff or whatever. But I'm like, this fits my use case exactly. I'm like, this is for me. It's not. It might not be for you or you, but it's for me.
It's nice when somebody makes something that you feel really fits, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm just like, it's kind of like a no-brainer, and I've ordered one.
I was going to say, if you bought one, you'd say yes. Of course he has.
Yeah.
Oh, look forward to seeing what you can do with that.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I came out of sequential, turned left, and Yamaha and a couple of others were like right down the back. And I thought, I've got to go. And this was actually, I went to them on the Thursday, not on the Friday. And I had my DX1 shirt on. So I went down there, and of course, they got the obligatory montages, Modi X's, the CKs, the new one. And I turned and I looked in the corner, and I saw this, and I was just like, oh my God, they brought it. And this is Robert, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his surname, so if you're watching, Robert, I do apologise. I just don't want to mess it up. Skuryank, I think, is how you pronounce it. Robert Skuryank. So Robert made these FS1R controllers, and I think he made, and then Manny's in the chat, he might correct me here, I think there's about 9 in total, and then he just said, I'm not building anymore. Because he built one for himself, and then a bunch of us in the FS1R sort of user groups were like, oh, how much, where, how, when can we get hold of one of these? And essentially, as you can see here, it basically opens up the FS1R, which is the little module that you see at the top there, which is one of the most powerful FM synthesizers available, because it has 8 operators and then 8 unvoiced operators to do the formant shaping, and it's just a stunning sounding bit of kit. But it's like painting the Sistine Chapel through a letterbox when it comes to programming, because you've just got these 4 rotary knobs and those tiny little horrible Yamaha buttons of the late 90s that were on everything that they did. So Robert just designed this controller with it's got I think it's got something like a Raspberry Pi stroke Teensy, some kind of little home build little process that's going on underneath of this little screen, but pretty much all the important stuff is broken out into knobs, sliders, faders. And I have to say, I didn't get to spend a huge amount of time with it. It was as confusing as the FS1R was when I first got it in terms of programming, because I was grabbing older stuff and just expecting it to do things, and it wasn't always doing it. But then Ulf from Yamaha came along and started to show me a few bits, and I started to get, sort of a little bit more familiar with it. I just didn't have the time. And there I am, sat as Ben's shown me there, just trying to work this damn thing out. But that was really incredible. And then to the left of that, they had a Mark II DX7 with the D-Tronics DT7 controller, which is a company in Holland that makes these. They do one for the DX7. They do one for the Reface DX as well. And I think they do one for another synth. I can't remember. But yeah, as Manny says, that FS1R control is full real-time control, not offline. So it's a cool bit of kit. I know Prometheus was saying, how much does it cost? I don't know how much it cost, because I knew I couldn't afford it, and he only made 9 and then stopped. And I've got nowhere to put it. It's as big as a synth. I mean, look how it is compared to the DX7 in terms of its size. There's a bit of a wider shot. It's bigger. It's actually wider than the DX7, probably deeper too. So it's a crazy bit of gear. But that was, I know it's an old piece of gear and something you can't actually buy in the stores, but for me that was a little highlight for Superbooth. And that's why you go to these things. It's not just about the new stuff. It's about the old stuff as well. And there was plenty of that around. So yeah, that was Yamaha at the top. So let me just in my head, have I missed anybody? Oh, Arturia were there. Oh, and I do want to mention, I'm going to try and get this up on the screen. So Arturia had their little thing, which was, I was a little disappointed. It wasn't that. They had a couple of Polybrutes. They had a couple of the new Microfreak Stellas with the version 5 firmware on. They had a Drum Brute and a Mini Freak. And couple of other little bits, but nothing really mind-blowing. But in the same room, just towards the door, was a little company that I don't know if we mentioned them last week. They're called Norand. And I just wanted to give Matthew, who is basically Norand, a shout out, because this was one of my, if I had to do a best in show, the new version of this thing, this is the current version. This is the Norand Mono. So I didn't know the Norand Mono existed until last week when the Norand Mono Mark II came out. And the Mono Mark II is a step up from this thing. So on first glance, you'd think, oh, that looks a bit like a 303 clone. And to a point, you would be kind of right. But it's more than that. You've got 2 oscillators. You've got a state variable filter. Everything is modulatable through the cross mod features on the right. So you can pick a thing you want to modulate and then kind of lock it in to one of the modulating knobs. And you can sort of kind of set up your little macros, so to speak, with that. And I'm just going to try and find it over here, because one of the ingenious things about the Mark II, as you can see, I'm properly prepared here. Talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. So this is the Mark II. This is what we were seeing at Superbooth. So as you can see, it's a slightly more refined look. This is a milled aluminium or aluminum, if you're in America, case It has heft. You could, if you wielded it correctly, probably kill somebody with this if you whack them around the head. So it has some nice heft to it. The knobs feel really silky and proper, that kind of nice resistance to it. But it's the pads that are really interesting about this. So instead of the little kind of Prophet style buttons, you've got these little silicon pads. Now the silicon pads are velocity sensitive. They're aftertouch capable as well, but they're also touch sensitive. Now if you move your finger vertically, you can induce whatever modulation you've assigned. If you move your finger to the left and right, you bend the note. So it's this wonderful kind of interactive little keyboard that's more than just a little note entry thing. It's actually a performance thing. The sequencer step strip across the top there, that little 16 step strip, is the same stuff. So if you want to put in steps within your sequence, you can either hit each step individually, or you can just drag your finger across. So if you want to put 3 or 4 in at one time, you just go, done. It also works as a controller. So it's like a ribbon controller. It has a tape head kind of mechanism or mode to it, so you can like speed up and slow down with your finger depending on how fast you rub it. It's an ingenious little thing, and it sounds amazing. It's got a really lovely sound to it. Koshtikai says it's a poor man's Osmos. It's actually about half the price of an Osmos. It's going to be going for about €840. That's what they're aiming for. But you can see where that €840 has gone, because it really is a lovely, lovely thing. Did you get a chance to play with this at all, Jim?
I didn't know. No. That whole room, I think I missed outside because I didn't see Arturia.
No, well, the big bright colours and everything,
yeah.
but it was kind of set back. I was a little disappointed by their presence, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things about Superbooth. It's so massive. You need more than 3 days to do it all, and probably about a week to actually spend time at every stall.
We were talking to people as we were moving around. They said, "Oh, have you seen this?" And we're like, "No, where's that?"
Yeah.
Somebody said, "Oh, have you seen Teenage Engineering?" Did you notice how they were billed as being in one of the sort of areas, but they were the most kind of exclusive little corner, weren't they?
Yeah.
With
their
their
Jeep and their
ridiculous
VW camper.
Yes, the Jeep, which is like FV1 or something. It's got a code.
And they're no, sorry, this is a private meeting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had the VW camper van, which they've had at previous shows with the one that Gaz did that wonderful kind of double take when they told him how much the little mixer was. And somebody went up and said they were looking at the new recorder. Was it the TX7?
TP7.
TP7, yeah. Looks like a little mini PlayStation, doesn't it?
I did make the comment about, it's got that revolving bit. Does TP stand for toilet paper? You can put it on there and it wipes your bum for you.
Do you know, if it did, it would be
should
worth
do
the
for
money
the
they're
price.
asking for.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was small. And the thing was, in my backpack, I've got a little, I don't know where I've got it now, it's probably still in my backpack. I've got a little digital recorder that does, I did check, this one, the Teenage Engineering one's 9624, mine's 4824. So it's not quite the same, but hey, it's still good. And it's a digital recorder, and it's got as much storage in it as the SD card can take.
Yeah.
And it cost me £70, and they want like best part of £1,500 for this, don't they?
I mean,
you've got that thing,
Yeah. I mean, this does £24.96 as well.
Yeah, and that's a fraction of the price.
And does multi-track, does 4
So nearly £25.
I mean, it was, and like you say, somebody went up. The side of the van was open. This thing that they'd announced was on the table, and somebody goes up to have a look, and they get shooed away.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a private meeting.
Yeah.
Go off. It did. Yeah.
What were you expecting?
Well, no, exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If money was no object, I'd have all their stuff, because I think it's really,
Yeah, it's a lovely kind of stuff.
It's quality stuff. It sounds amazing, and it's cool and portable. Which with this lot here now, I'm like, portability would be nice.
I don't know. Ty mentioned it on the show last week, because I know it was only on for like the first half, but I spoke to Ty earlier in the week, and I said, "Go on, have you put one?" He says, "Like I have." He's not even going for that. I mean, you
He's
went
got
for the
no
mixers.
use for it, has he?
Nah,
So.
so
But you could have the world's smallest like DJ setup though, couldn't you? Like 2 of those, and
Yeah.
like the mixer, all in a little
And you-
backpack that's like that big.
Jesus.
So why is the field table so big?
Oh, quite. There must be an extensive range of other things to fit, because they had one, didn't they? Their booth had a table. And
Yeah, it wasn't the actual field table. That was.
Oh,
one of
wasn't
the
it? I thought it was.
prototypes. Yeah, it was one of the prototypes they'd made while designing the field table.
oh, I see.
I
didn't stay around long enough.
But yeah, apparently that Jeep is for sale.
Really? Well, times are hard at teenage engineering.
I guess so. Yeah.
Right, so yeah, that was teenage engineering. So if we come out into like the plaza area, I don't know if that's the official name, but it was this large kind of concrete with steps down to the lake stage, where Matt Hodson did a blinding set, by the way, representing, and there was a few interesting. The first act on Thursday was awful. It was just like a 4-bar loop that only dogs could hear. It was horrible. I'm sorry, it was just horrible. There was a guy with the bass guitar that was doing some interesting stuff, but that soon became a little repetitive. But Matt played an absolute belter, and I'm not really into that sort of thing, but even I was like, this is very good. So hopefully that will be up online somewhere, because there was a guy filming all of that. So
Yeah, I would have thought so.
yeah. So yeah, there was a beer. There was lots of beer, lots of alcohol tents around the place, but there was a beer tent, lots of tables, picnic tables, and that's where we met the wonderful Mark Barnes and Cheryl Barnes and Jamie Morden, who literally is half the man he used to be, and looking amazing for it. So big congrats. And because it was his birthday on Friday as well.
Yeah, totally.
So that was a good excuse to have yet another beer.
Yeah.
So we met, Mark and Cheryl, who are an absolute scream. Shame that they live so far away up in Scotland, but they were really enjoying the Berlin vibe. So yeah, that was great to see them, and Mark was like a kid in a candy shop.
They're also very much, well, Cheryl was enjoying Robert Fatdus Hetch's Drambuie.
Yes. Oh yeah, because Robert bought a bottle of Drambuie and then was just basically just tipping it into any receptacle he could find. Of course, the lovely Robert Fatdus Hetch was there. He was very funny in the airport as well. Did he send you the video of the guy? We'll come to that. So there was a guy that was corralling us all.
Yeah.
Loved the sound of his own voice. He actually filmed some of that. It was quite funny. So there was this big kind of plaza area and lots of networking and talking, and people just sat on steps watching and listening to the music. Ben and I were sat there on Friday at some point. Here we are. This was us. Just sat on these steps. Oh, look, there's beer. And this person just floated by on a skateboard very, very quietly, and I looked, and it's Cuckoo, and he was of all of the super tubers, he was the one that just like he is a bit of like an enigma, isn't he? But he absolutely fulfilled the my impression of what Cuckoo was like, because he is exactly who he is on camera. And he just kind of glided by on his little skateboard off into the distance somewhere. It was quite bizarre.
Someone else I did meet was Florian Pills.
I saw Florian knocking around.
He's exactly like he is on camera. He talks exactly the same way with the same amount of enthusiasm.
It might have been you. I
Hilarious.
said to someone, I said, does he speak like he does on camera? Because I would just have to walk away. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but it really does my head in. And it's just, so a lot of those people were there. Bo Beats was there, and Jorb, and the guy from Anderton's videos. What's his name?
Jack.
That's it. Jack was there.
Is it?
Yeah. So there's all those sort of people, and apparently on the Saturday, we wouldn't know because we weren't invited. But apparently there was a Super Tuber gathering. So the joke was this was I can't take credit for this. This was somebody else's joke. So what happened was Bo Beats posted in Instagram saying, if you want to meet your favourite synthesizer YouTubers, we're all meeting up outside the circus tent, because there's a big like a live thing, circus tent thing, we're all meeting outside the circus tent at such and such a time on the Saturday. Come along and say hi to your favourite synth YouTubers. And somebody quipped underneath that saying, well, you know where you find all the clowns, don't you? Outside the circus tent. But I didn't know, well, so we didn't, Pro Synth Network didn't get invited to that. So we didn't turn up. It did cross our minds, maybe we should crash it. But we didn't. Or
crash into it with a teenage engineering Jeep.
Yeah, I mean, we've only got 2,500 subs. So we're not in that league
yet.
And I honestly, do you know what? I saw these guys going around with. I mean, look. So we bumped into Nick on a few occasions, and honestly, hats off to the guy. He's a freaking legend. He does an amazing job. I don't know why anybody else bothers going around filming everything at Superbooth or any show that they go to, because Nick and his team, who are incredible, big shout out to those guys there, including our friend Simon Forsyth, who was doing a lot of stuff there.
Andy
as well, yeah. They've got a new guy, apparently. He was saying the other day they've got a new guy who was getting all the footage, editing it and sticking it up. I mean, the stuff was coming out so quick. So why anybody else bothers, I don't know. But you see them going around with all their rigs and their cameras, and they're setting up, and I'm just like, I just want to be there and enjoy the thing.
Yeah.
Which is why Ben and I took all the cameras and the stuff, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll get it out and we'll do something. Just couldn't be bothered, because lots of other people do it so well. And yeah, I just want to be there for the event and the people. Which I want to bring Kent in, because you've not done any bloody work tonight. You've got to earn your keep here. As an outsider to Superbooth, what were your thoughts on what you saw, the coverage that you saw? Any thoughts on?
There was tons of coverage on it, wasn't it? It was. I mean, if you compare it to what NAMM was like, you can't help getting the feeling that Superbooth is,
it's removed
the real gig. Yeah, and it's kind of because NAMM was more, I don't know, conventional. I think it was more of a conventional instrument show, with 90% networking, whereas Booth was like that had that festival vibe to it. People could go there who didn't have a clue about, wouldn't know a Jupiter 4 if it fell out of a tree on them. They could go there and they could have a good laugh and a good day there. Yeah. And then anybody who's actually, would know that a Jupiter 4 had fallen on them can also have just as much fun. So, yeah, and there was tons of coverage. And that, like you say, Sonic State were getting the videos out so bleeding fast. It's all, they got a truck out there with a production team on it.
Yeah.
Getting it all out there. And, I mean, it looked really, really good. It was much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I was, not that kind of, six bloody sad blokes standing around a table going, that's nice, isn't it? But everybody starts from something. But that was bigger than I possibly imagined. It was very, very good and very busy. And it looked good. I mean, I was surprised Roland wasn't there.
Yes and no. Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought they might make some sort of, sort of like, could you represent us? Yeah, just we're not going there full blown, but just throw a couple of those keyboards out for us. But yeah, I mean, there was lots and lots and lots of interesting stuff there. Stuff I'd never heard of. And then there was that. It was a tent. I only briefly caught it. It was a tent, and in this tent there was this modular that was like a wizard hat kind of thing. It was sort of like a
in the circus tent,
a tall pyramid type thing, and they were triggering this thing by all sorts of weird and wonderful, hitting drums, little pads with sticks and all sorts of stuff. I go, my God, there's a wealth of stuff out there. It's just like, wouldn't know about, you know? So it definitely seems to be the place,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I think what it's done, and I've never had the good fortune to, or bad fortune, to go to NAMM, because I always wanted to, but now I really don't have any desire to go there, other than it would be in LA and I could go and hang out with some friends. That would be it.
I think the only way to do NAMM now is you get Andy to go to NAMM,
Yeah.
and then we review it
live
on my show. That
That
is
was
the only way to do NAMM.
That was
Yeah.
the best ever. That was.
Thank you. I had pains in my stomach from all the laughing.
Yeah.
So it was
So did Andy.
oh man, it was
But
great.
it really was, and I'm going to say this now before we get too close to the end of the show, because I want to make a point of this. Every one of these things I go to, but this one, a million times more, is about the people.
Yeah.
And the gear to me is secondary, which sounds an odd thing to say, but the gear is just one of the reasons. It's kind of like it's just there. It's like you go to a meal, it's the buffet, it's there, and you just go and have a pick here and pick there. For me, it was sitting down on a table with Mark and Cheryl and Jim and Jamie and Ben and whoever else who I might have forgotten that came and joined us at some point, and meeting Carl and Ben, and it was just chatting away with people who you're all there for the same reason. You all have the same interest. There was no. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was no trouble. There was no aggro. There was no elitism. Certainly not.
Teenage engineering.
Apart from teen engineering in the circus tent at 1:30
Do
on
you have
Saturday.
a suit?
Yeah, but there was. I mean, everyone was just like casual and having. It was a festival atmosphere, but it was the people that made it, and that's what I came away from there, and the thing I missed the most was the people.
Yeah.
Not the gear. I can see the gear, a lot.
It's
In
all
other
about
places,
the forging and consolidating of
Yeah.
friendships and relationships.
the community.
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great community that's centered around this thing that we call electronic music. I mean, to see people, for example, Ken Flux Pierce, somebody that I've known for many years, never met him, and here is, this is the thing that draws people, together from two sides of the ocean. We all come in together, and to see, but then to see people like Jim and Jamie, and the people that we see in kind of week in, week out. But you get to hang with them, and you get to hang with Mark and Cheryl, who are just absolutely blinded.
You get to be thankful for actually getting off the plane and not
getting shot in the head. Yeah,
Oh, Jaddy Jim down there.
yeah. But even like the delay we had at the airport coming back, it was just late flight coming in, so we were late going out. Even that, we were finding all the amusing thing. There was no disappointment or anything like that. Nothing
Robert's
could have
there
spoiled it.
going, "Why are you happy?"
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was.
Why
it was
not?
Great, indeed. So anyway, let's think. What else did we see? So I want to mention Modal, because Modal were there, and they had anniversary editions of the Argon and the Cobalt, so basically paint jobs, where they very cleverly taken the right hand leg of the M and the O to make it look like a 10, so it stands out, and it's because it's 10th anniversary. But they also had the Carbonate, and the Carbonate is supposedly, though they didn't give huge amounts of detail on it, supposedly a phase distortion synthesizer, and it's not finished. It's some way from being finished. And there were a few glimmers of, ooh, that's interesting, but mostly, but we'll cut them some slack. But nice to see them there. GR Tasty Chips, that was a big draw, wasn't it?
Yeah.
GR Mega, apparently. So the GR1 it was this small granular synth with a big slider under the screen, and you can just like move through the grains. Apparently the GR Mega, complete rebuild, complete rewrite of the code and everything from the ground up, so I was hearing. Didn't get much of a chance to play with it, because it was one of those things, there was always somebody around it. Like the, what was the other, Tempura, from the guys that did the Vector synth. that had a lot of people sort of sniffing around it a lot.
I heard they even had radio-controlled boats out on the pond.
They did.
On that pool, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have kept me amused for a couple of hours as well.
I'll tell you what Modal did have as well. So one of the things that I spent a bit of time doing was going around with these and recording all the interference.
Where it was safe to do so.
Various bits of kit, yeah. Modular was really fascinating. You could the difference between like signals from like digital and analog modules. I can actually stick this on a wire on a modular and listen to what signal there is going through that wire, which is quite amazing. But what Modal had was I was stood there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting this like huge signal coming through, and like, what on earth is it? And then I know the guy from Modal like points to these plasma balls that they've got on the stand. I'm like, no way. Yeah. And what was good fun was letting all the exhibitors hear what I was hearing. So because everyone had headphones there, so it's just like, stick your headphones in there, have a listen to what your kit sounds like, through this electrosolution. It was brilliant fun.
Yeah. Have you ever tried it near a car charging in a car park? Like Tesco's car park or something.
I haven't actually. That's just
give that a go.
An idea, yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear police cars. They emit some very interesting signals, so I can detect unmarked cars.
Apparently, some EF readings off the scale. Apparently.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah. What else? So
we have to talk about the Super Gemini.
Oh gosh, how have we not? How have we not? So yeah, Udo or UDO.
Smile.
So I have
what the Super Gemini is like.
I have a confession to make. Since I came back from Superbooth, I've acquired some UDO gear. Are you ready for this?
Yeah,
I've got a wipe. That's about all I can afford.
Yeah.
So it's even still in its plastic packaging. I haven't taken it out yet, but yeah.
So's mine.
And Udo,
the synth will come later.
Synth cloth, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, UDO. George was there with the Super Gemini. I don't want to sort of go on about how it's very kind of Roland-esque in its design. Sonically, it's something else. I think somebody referred to it as a CS80 crossed with a Jupiter 8. I don't know. It's difficult to describe because it's such a beautiful thing to look at, such a beautiful thing to play.
I think that was a pretty fair analogy of it. Although I would say when I first saw it at first glance, it reminded me of the Tyscos.
Yeah,
SX400, that type of thing.
See that,
was it 270 in that?
Yeah.
It had that vibe to it. But then when I heard it being played, I was going, oh, for God's sake, where am I going to be able to put that?
I know. Because it's not huge, but it's not small. And that big old ribbon, which is not an indented ribbon, it's like a raised affair. It felt very sturdy, felt like it could take lots of fingers.
Yeah.
And of course it's poly AT, and the sound coming out of it was just incredible.
Yeah.
The filters were
it was mind blowing. It really was. It was
very impressive.
It's a
and
real
up until that point, I was thinking about getting a mask one,
and
I went
different things. Yeah.
Oh,
different things,
yeah. But I'm going. I can only allocate myself so much money and so much space, and I'm going. If it was a
Kent, get this.
Yeah, no, As much as I love the Mask One, I think pound for pound, I think what George has done. Because the other thing that was surprising to hear was people coming out and thinking it's only 3,600 quid.
Yeah,
and you think, wow, because I was expecting $5,000 upwards. Yeah, because you look at that and you look at say a Profit 5 Rev 4,
it's total flagship stuff.
Well, put in perspective, it's 36 grand for a CS80. So there you go.
Oh, and this, to be honest, I think this sounds a lot better.
And there's less to go wrong.
Much less.
Yeah. No, it was. I think everybody we spoke to, we said, "What's your favourite thing?" Super Gemini. So, I mean, Mark fell in love with it.
At least 2/3 of people said Super Gemini.
Yeah, easily. It just
it may not be what you came away putting money down on, but it was definitely on everyone's sort of wish list.
Yeah,
it was hard not to fall in love with it.
Yeah, and it's hard not to fall in love with the whole UDO thing because George is such a lovely guy and such a brilliant guy, and it's such a great design, both visually and sonically. Because I mean, it's when a synth is great when you look at it and you look at the CS80 and you kind of go, ooh, because it has a thing about it. You look at the DX1, even if you don't like the sound, you can't deny it looks lovely. This looks amazing. It's very well designed. The user interface is that follows that kind of classic Roland.
There's no menu.
No, there's no screens. There's nothing. Yeah. It's just all there.
Yeah.
And
I can
you're
relate
just
to that.
you're zipping around it.
Anyone can walk up to that and get
Literally,
sounds amazing sounds out of it. And
I think when George did a demo, so I wasn't there, but I heard that he did a demo.
Yeah.
And he set it up. He said, "Right, I've just literally brought this across from the show. I don't know what people have been doing with this thing, but let's see what we can do." And he just started, and apparently just cracked on. Was that you that told me that?
No.
No. Somebody mentioned that they saw it somewhere, and he just literally.
He did a performance on the lake, didn't he? With it.
Oh, that might have been it.
And
that might have been it.
Carl Bedford said that it sent him off to sleep. It was like absolutely lush.
Yeah,
and,
it was such an amazing, and to be able to see it in kind of isolation. There was a couple of Super 6s there, because the other thing that they've done with the Super 6, they've given it a bit of there's a couple of new paint jobs and stuff. But yeah, this is not two Super 6s bolted together. It's way more than that. It's so much more than that. Such a really lovely
the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Absolutely,
definitely.
Because sometimes you get in a filter opening, there are points within that frequency spectrum that can sort of like jangle the nerves a little bit on certain machines. And when I was listening to this Gemini, and I'm going, no, it's smooth. All the way. Yeah. All the way. Just like an 80 does. It's just, it's,
It just sounds lush. It's amazing.
And then it can money in my account again.
It can do wild stuff as well. It's like hearing George sort of demo it, and he's just making stuff up, and what he's making up is incredible. Yeah. Because it's just such an inspiring sort of performance instrument.
Yeah. Some people in the chat are talking about the colour scheme, and I actually kind of liked it. But remember, this is a prototype. This isn't going to be out until September, so I guess nothing's set in stone. But I thought it looked gorgeous. Yeah. I really did. But
I wouldn't kick it out the studio.
No, not at all. Another thing that took my ear and my eye, and actually turned up here whilst we were in Berlin. So my actual first experience of this was in Berlin. Was this little bit? I'm just going to unplug it here. So this turned up on Friday. You can pre-order these now. This is the new box from Sonicware. It's the Texture Lab, and this came out of left field for me. I had no idea this was on its way. Oh, excuse me. So this is a granular synthesizer, or sample-based synthesizer with that can either be an instrument or an effects box as well, and it sounds incredible. Granular was a thing. Granular seems to be something that kind of every now and again it sort of puts his little head up above the parapet, and people thinking, oh, this is the next thing, and then it kind of sort of subsides, and then it comes up again, and this last few weeks we've seen this. We've got the GR Mega from Tasty Chips. Even Ken from ASM was showing me granular patches that he's been making on the Hydra synth, and it does seem to have kind of picked up pace again. But this is a really, really lovely thing, and I'm not going to do a big demo of it at all, because I've only been able to sort of play with it for a few days, and I really do need to sit down with Chris Dodsworth's 46-minute tutorial video. But if you want to know what we're talking about, you can go to sonicware.eu or sonicware.jp and find out about the Texture Lab, and hear some decent demos of it. It's basically a granular processor that can synthesize new sounds, and also work as a multifunction effects unit as well, with a big shimmer reverb, 128-step sequencer, and of course it comes in that kind of lovely Liven form factor, battery powered if you want it to be, or mains powered, has its own built-in speaker, and sounds really, really nice. Especially when you start messing around with, you know. And you can mess around. And there's some presets in here, and you can
like that.
It's funny how sounds from machines like that sound really, really good, but if it's a memory moke, it means it's broken. An interesting thing, isn't it?
It is. And I want to sit down this weekend and start throwing my own sounds into there. And but you can mess around with vocals as well. Oops.
Answer that.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Crazy
that
frogs at the
sound. When you actually get back down to where it was. You get lost in it. You start creating some weird and wonderful stuff. And it retails, I believe, for about 240, I think it was.
Oh, come on, what?
I know. It's bonkers.
I'm getting one of them.
Yeah, it's good fun.
I'm getting one of them. That's sort of like, yeah, that will really piss Fiona off.
And it's the first Sonicware Liven that doesn't have the overlay, because it doesn't need it. There's not so much going on with this. It's basically you can sample into it, you can mess around with those in a granular sense, or you can stick anything. You can stick a guitar through it or another synthesizer through it and use it as an effects processor.
Brilliant,
great stuff. And it's got the sync in and sync out, so you can, if you've got any of the others or if you've got anything else that syncs using that 3.5mm jack standard, you can mess around with that. So that's a lot of fun. What else? So that was their Polyend. Were there? Me and Ben stood at the Polyend stand messing around with the Polyend trackers and the Polyend Play, and we just felt like old men. We felt just couldn't get our head around it.
You are.
Well, I went. Yeah, there is that. But I went and had a go on the tracker mini thingy.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've got this criteria nowadays because of the emphasis on being performing live, and if I can't work out how to use something inside of like 2 minutes, I don't want to know, because I can't read a manual when something's going wrong live.
Exactly.
And so if it doesn't have that instant appeal and to be able to suss it out without a manual, without instruction, without somebody teaching me how it works, I really don't want to know. Now, I grew up on trackers. I grew up on sort of Med on the Amiga. So I was there. I thought, this should make sense to me. And I couldn't put a fucking note in it.
No.
It's just like...
thank God it wasn't just me.
Yeah, I've got a headless M8, the Dirty Wave headless M8, which makes sense. It's really easy to use, easy to navigate, and, you've got the hierarchy. It's just, makes sense without you can just sort of use it once you figured out what the actual buttons do. Whereas that Polyend thing, I'm just like, well, this I should be able to select that, and that should be like the action of putting a note in, but it wasn't. I'm like, I just put it back down. Like, I don't want to ever touch that again. No,
that was exactly Ben and I were stood there with the Polyend Play, and I said, "Oh, I've heard lots of good things about this. So, okay, that makes that sound, but then so does that button. They're actually all the buttons make the same sound." Interesting. Okay, so what about these buttons over here? They're going to let me change anything? And every time we pressed them, we just made things worse, and things weren't sounding.
Yeah.
And
I could get it to play, and that was about it. And
but it was playing something that somebody else had clearly put in, and they had no idea what they were doing, and it sounded rubbish.
Yeah.
Sounds like me with a TB303.
And yeah, I mean, I just unplugged it. Thought, oh, maybe if I unplug it, and turn it off and on again, it might
Works
reset.
with the 303.
Yeah, but no, not with this. It just retains everything. And I didn't really want to spend or waste time having somebody tell me how to use something that I guess I'm not really sort of into anyway. But I just And Ben and I sort of looked at each other and said, "Is it because we're old?" But then you think about it, a lot of that polyend stuff is based on older technology that I was never into trackers. That was never my thing. So I would still struggle to get my head around one of them. But
there's this little bit of a war going on at the minute about the Dirty Wave M8 and polyend. There's been stuff like Ben Jordan has been sort of bigging up the polyend mini. And there's been some trash talk against Trash 80, who has come up with the Dirty Wave M8. Who were supposed to be there this weekend, but couldn't make it. I think Jeremy Redmean's recording was there as a sort of was going to be representing.
I didn't see him around.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw him briefly, but
right.
But yeah, and he actually has composed a lot of stuff on the Dirty Wave M8 during the whole weekend. Some really good stuff. I don't know if you watch his Superbooth was a Fever Dream video. It's quite cool. It's got some cool tunes that he made on the M8. So, but yeah, much prefer the M8. It just that makes sense. The polyend just doesn't. No. And other people may be able to pick it up and go, oh yeah, this makes sense to me. It's just how different people's brains work.
No, absolutely. I mean, totally. Like Ableton Live. I keep looking at it thinking I should totally get this, and every time I try it, I'm like, no, forget it. I
don't want to get it. At the end of the day, it's like I see that many people at EMOMs struggling with bloody Ableton, trying to get it to work, and I'm just like, no, thank you. I'll stick with what I've got. It works.
Exactly, and there's no wrong way, there's no right way. It's what works for you. It's like a pair of shoes. It'll fit you, and you'll feel comfortable in them. I just want to see if they've got any questions. So Jason says, how did Superbooth differ from what you expected apart from the beer on tap? The beer was fantastic. And by the way, somebody did say, here we go, Maggie, or Moggy Synth, sorry. I think the soft drink that Daniel Miller was drinking was Clubmate, and it was called Clubmate. And apparently it's like a soft, I thought it was some sort of like boozy thing, but it's not. It's kind of like a soft drink. So how did Superbooth differ? I don't think it did. I think it was everything I thought it would be, and so much more. Yeah. And in the positive.
Yeah, I mean, people had spoken about it having like a festival type vibe, and it completely did. That it was just a wonderful feeling, We're all there just to sort of kind of celebrate the use of technology in sort of bringing us joy through music, and it's and
there's very much a creative vibe going on.
It completely lived up to that, and surpassed it. It was.
And what
great.
I liked about Superbooth, the one thing I kind of prefer about Superbooth to any other kind of show that I've been to so far, is that, I mean, obviously most people know that I'm not a modular guy at all. And you go to these shows, especially, you go to Synthfest UK, and not a bad word against them, but you get in that main hall, and it's just just all day, and it really does mess with your brain waves. You have to get out. But if you go outside, you're outside the whole show. Whereas at Superbooth, you just walk out and you choose, well, where am I going to go next? Because it's all open air, and of course the weather was incredible. We were speaking to our friend on the Saturday, and he said, like Wednesday it was horrible, and then Thursday it's just the sun came out. It was 23 degrees, hardly a cloud in the sky. I got not sunburn. I had a bit of a red neck at the end of it all, and I got a little bit of colour in my skin for a change. But it was perfect, absolutely perfect weather. I do wonder what it would be like had it rained, how different it might have been. But yeah, I mean, we didn't even come prepared for rain. Luckily, it was fantastic. Tempo Roboto says, can you buy modules there, or are they just for display prototypes? Selling is strictly forbidden. although I'm sure probably something happens under the counter. But no, selling is absolutely forbidden. So don't worry about taking your money there and not coming back with anything. You can't buy stuff there. But I think they do say that if you want to buy stuff, there's a place outside of the event that you can go and do things. But I'm sure.
So did I break the law by buying my Moog T-shirt?
Oh no! Oh yes! Oh yeah! Well, yeah. They were selling their T-shirts, yeah, and a snug fit it was too.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've got a picture of you wearing that. Because did you wear it?
If you watched the EMOM last night, I was wearing it on.
Oh right, okay.
So,
I don't know. You didn't have it on there, did you? So this was one of the. There's Hopper at the back. So this was Friday evening. I can't remember. It was.
I so want to get a sticker made of Ben doing that and just stick it on the edge of things.
Yes,
it'd be brilliant.
Brilliant.
Fridge magnet.
There he is with Michelle, who is, I have to say, utterly gorgeous and fantastic, and so lovely and funny. And
you must tell the story about the train journey back from Superbooth on that Friday night.
Oh yes, I will do that. Before I do, were there some extra bangs for the bucket offers in Berlin? Again, because nobody was officially selling any hardware. There was no. The guys, the Sonicware distributor had these little cards with a code on that you could go and get 40% off at the EU store or something like that. But no, there was no. It's not about selling. And it's not even so much about networking, although I'm sure a lot of networking did happen. It is really just, are you into electronic music and the things that make it? This is, you just come and hang out for 3 days, and that's all it really is. So no, I don't think there's any special offers. So we did all the thing on the Thursday and the Friday, and for me, I saw everything I wanted to see. I felt that if I'd gone back on the Saturday, if we had nothing else to do, if we had gone back on the Saturday, I'd have just been kind of revisiting most of the stuff that I'd wanted to see. I mean, I didn't see a lot of stuff, but most of that was stuff I wouldn't be interested in anyway. So not a massive thing. So on the Saturday, I'd already been in touch with a good friend of mine who lives out in Berlin. We've had him on the show, and he said, we must hook up. You're not allowed to come into Berlin and not see us. So we all went out for coffee and a little wander around Kreuzberg with the wonderful Mark Reeder. Let me just get the comments off the screen there. There we go. So Mark Reeder, who you might know, if you don't know who Mark Reeder is, go and watch our show with Mark. Mark was basically he's a musician from Manchester that went out to Berlin in the late 70s, was friends with Joy Division, particularly Ian Curtis, and he actually got Joy Division their first and only gig, I think, in Berlin at the Coma Kino, which is kind of a legendary gig that he set up. And he then became kind of Factory Records representative in the city and would, pass demo tapes to Manchester and back and forth. And not only was he involved in the production of many great West Berlin bands and taking them into East Berlin and to East Germany further afield to play where, of course, they couldn't get that sort of stuff. He then, eventually, after the wall came down, became responsible for, many people call him like the godfather of trance, because he set up his label MFS, and Paul Van Dyke he discovered Paul Van Dyke and put him on his label and the whole such. He's steeped in music history, what with Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, New Order, all these people that he's produced or remixed, and the loveliest guy you'll ever meet. And so I took these two reprobates along with that. There's Jim with his shirt on in the background. You can see the what did she call it? The
Sumogarai.
Sumogarai, that's it. We went around a little bit of Kreuzberg, and we had some coffee, and then we went around the flea market and had a good laugh, and it was really, really nice and a lovely way to sort of relaxing way to end the day there. I'm just trying to see if I've got any more photos that I haven't shown. Oh, here's Ben with the CS80. So that was quite nice. Oh, we didn't even mention this.
Oh yeah,
the PWM Mantis, Now, this was the working mantis. You see in the background, there's another one. Just at the top of the picture there's another mantis. Now, Ben and I were on that one, and we were going, this sounds gnarly, but we weren't able to do anything. We were twiddling all the knobs. Turns out that the knobs in the unit weren't actually connected to anything. We had to twiddle the knobs on the circuit board that was at the back.
Yeah.
Which was, so we found that out later, much to our embarrassment. And yeah, here's the Udo Super Gemini that was there. That was fantastic. We've already spoken about that. So anyway, yes, that was that. So we all went back to the hotel. We grabbed our bags, and Mark had actually said to us, as a seasoned Berlin veteran, he said, "How are you getting back to the airport?" And we said, "Well, we're getting on the S-Bahn, and we go down to this place, and we change, and we get on the Airport Express." He said, "No. What you want to do is you want to get this, and then you change, you get on a bus, and that gets you there quicker." And we're like, okay, we'll take, thank you for that. We got back to the hotel, and with no disrespect to Mark, we thought we just want the simplest route, the one that we know. So we decided to go on the train. So we get on the S-Bahn, and we go down to Ostkreuz, which is this kind of junction station where you can get off and get on pretty much any train anywhere. And we got off at platform 1 or 2, and the Airport Express is platform 15 or something. So
14,
up and down stairs and under things and up again. And eventually we get to the platform, and we look at the timetable. It's 20 minutes away, so we just sit down and relax. We're having a chat, just reminiscing about what we've seen over the past few days. Big old freight train comes ploughing through the station, and we were like, "Yeah, lovely." And then about 5 minutes later, Airport Express, which is one of these lovely modern double-decker trains that they have out in continental Europe. And it was very busy because obviously everybody's going to the airport. And we get on, and we're standing room only, luckily, by the door, luckily. And we're stood there by a whole pile of suitcases. There's one of those cordoned off areas that everybody can put their suitcases in. We're stood there, and we're there for about a minute or so. And then all of a sudden, Ben goes, "Where's my case?" And we're looking, because Ben had got a very distinctive shiny red little trolley case.
And I'm like, it's out there on the platform.
We both all look out the windows. There it is. It's on the other side of the bloody platform where we were sat. So Ben's like, "Oh shit!" So he's off. Luckily, the train hasn't gone yet. He's gone. He's out. Jim and I are like, "Oh, what do? We can't we can't leave him on his own. So we've got our bags ready to go." Luckily, now Ben's not the fastest.
You really
on his
can't
feet.
leave Ben on his own.
He's like your favourite granddad who's just like absolutely living the moment and loving it. But yeah, is not the most what's the word? He's quite sort of forgetful because he's so carried away in the moment. He's really enjoying life right there and then. Love him to bits, but oh my word. Luckily, he gets back onto the train. The train hasn't left. We've not even questioned why the train hasn't left yet. And, well, yeah, because everyone else in the carriage is having a bit of a chuckle about this, but yeah, it was all good. And we stood there, and then eventually his voice comes on saying, unfortunately, that freight train that we saw go through Florence had broken down and was blocking the line. So we were then like, oh shit, we got a flight to catch. As it turned out, the flight was late anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered too much. But we had this flight to catch, and everyone else is like looking at their phones at the planners and how can they get to the airport? What's the quickest route? Jim just said, "Do you know what? Let's get an Uber." So that's what we did. We just piled out of the train, found the nearest exit, the nearest road, got an Uber, which is this slightly crazy Turkish guy, but very funny and amusing.
Yeah,
but he was a little bit
yeah.
distracted, shall we say. Yeah. His English, he said, he starts talking to us. He clearly knows we're English and then says, "I don't speak English." Right. "You like music?" Yeah. So he puts the music on. And he was taking his hands off the wheel saying, "Is this good? Or is this bad?" "I don't care. Put your fucking hands on the wheel." But yeah, he got us there. He got us there in one piece, and then we got to the terminal, and of course the flight was delayed because the incoming flight was delayed, and Ryanair have this terrible thing of kettling you into these small areas, And then everyone was getting a bit wound up, and there was this little guy who worked for Swissport, which is
hang on, you missed a bit out.
Oh, which bit?
Ben going into the newsagents.
Oh, God, yeah. So we'd gone through security. Luckily, Ben had sailed through this time.
Except for the angry security.
Yeah.
Person, you know.
But eventually we get through, we get into the place where you can just get something to eat. And it was sort of like middle of the afternoon or late afternoon. So we all got a little meal deal, sandwich, crisps and a drink sort of thing. And Ben's like, he's after a bit of tobacco. So he's asked this bloke for tobacco, and he gets some tobacco, and he thinks it's pipe tobacco, but anyway, we get it anyway. And he pays the guy, and he says, "Thank you very much," and off he goes. And I'm like, Ben, suitcase, he'd only left it behind again. Just completely in the moment. Absolutely every time. So eventually we get on the flight, and we get home, all safe and sound, and that was our Superbooth weekend, everyone. And it was amazing. And if you haven't been, I hope we've given you a bit of a flavour of it. And you absolutely must go. Even if it's just, I know Robin Vincent, I was speaking to him today, and he only went for the Saturday, and he regretted it only being one day, and he's going to try and do a couple of more of those. Good question from Zoe here. Out of interest, what was the male-female balance like? Were there many people of colour?
Good question.
I thought there was a really big variety of. I was surprised actually at the.
In
diversity.
terms of male-female balance, it was way more females than most of us would have predicted. But there's some heavy-hitting female attendees as well. So you had like Marta Barr and Sarah Sommer and stuff, and just like so.
The Bukes stand had like a fair split, didn't they? They had 2 male, 2 female players on there.
So there was and some of the modular stuff was female led. So it was a good mix. It was way more diverse than I thought.
Yeah, people of every flavour, denomination.
In terms of people of colour, probably again predominantly white. There was but it was
No, it was really good. It was a very, very diverse, open. Yeah, it was just There was nothing about that thing, that whole event, that you could criticise. I think in any shape or form.
No, and the whole feeling was very inclusive, and it was just superb.
I tell you what I'd like to do. So I was thinking about this earlier today, that Ben and I go over. We're kind of representing this channel, albeit we are a very small channel by comparison to a lot of these guys. But I kind of felt like we didn't do anything for our channel. And thinking about what I said about Nick earlier on, there's no point going around filming and interviewing all of these people. That's not what we do, and he does it so much better. And we couldn't even compete, and nobody would look at ours. If you were given a choice of looking at a Pro Synth Network video and a Sonic State one, you're going to go Sonic State every time, because you know what you're going to get is high quality stuff. So what could we do? And do you remember, with the where we were getting our lunch? So we got lunch on the Thursday. There was some guys outside the PWM tent who had 4 microphones set up on boom arms and 4 chairs, and they were doing little live broadcasts. Out. I don't know whether they were recording them for playback later, or whether they actually got a decent signal or actually putting them out live. But that might be an interesting thing to explore. Maybe do some sort of live show, that gives us at least most of the day to go and look around, and then we can convene in a place and get some people in, passing by. We'll have to think about doing something. I don't know how much it will cost us, but answers on a postcard, send them in. I've before I do anything else, I do need to acknowledge Mr. Stephen Smith. That is an awesome donation. Thank you very, very much indeed. I'm taking that's Australian dollars, which is double in England, or is it the other way around? I don't know, but either way, that's a significant thank you.
It is
for that. Thank you very much indeed. Andy Brooks, we talked about this before we came on air, but we do need to give a mention. It's not synth related. They were massively a guitar band, although they did use a Fairlight on Strange Ways, Here We Come. They used a Fairlight on that album, but Andy Rourke of the Smiths passed away today or yesterday at the tender age of 59, which just makes you think, fuck, you know. But yeah, one of the great bassists. So yeah, there we go.
Speaking of Fairlights, you had an interesting conversation with the guy on the train, didn't you?
Yes. Oh, that was a funny thing, because there was myself, Ben, and Jim, and then Hopper. I must get his and
Craig.
Michelle. Yeah. So we're on this S-Bahn we're going back to where Michelle's hotel was, because she said there's a whole bunch of restaurants in their neck of the woods, and we were chatting about this Fairlight documentary. That's, you know, there's a few people I've been speaking with that, you know, we might be able to get something off the ground. Completely out of the blue, this voice, you know, from the other side of the earth. Sorry, were you talking about Fairlights? I'm going, oh yeah. And he's just started. Oh, can I just ask one question? Which turned into a barrage of questions. I mean, it was lovely. It was fantastic to meet someone else who's enthusiastic about it. And then what was he was with someone who I recognised from another event, and he mentioned something about Bob Moog. Oh, I can't remember what it was that he mentioned.
I was talking about reading the audio book.
Oh yeah, that's it. He read the audio book, which is the book that they're currently selling, that they were selling copies of at Superbooth. Or Superbooth, I said, I gave it away the punchline there. And I'm thinking, have you not seen who I'm stood next to? Bob Moog's daughter. And she didn't realise at the time. And when I told her this afterwards, she would have said, I'd love to just turn around and go, But yeah, that was funny.
So I was just looking at you, fully aware that like this, they hadn't clocked.
Clearly didn't clock that at all. But yeah, it was great. I mean, just little things like that. You're just on the train and somebody obviously has been there as well, and you just start talking, you make conversation.
Yeah, and you meet people from all over the world.
Yeah,
it was really great to meet up with, you know, say like Ray Malone. You know, he'd come over from Canada. Yeah. He's currently in London and playing somewhere tonight.
Cool.
But yeah, and just, you know, all the guys from the chat. It's so nice to meet up.
I think that's one of the things I really enjoy. It scares me sometimes because people will come up to me and go, "Hey, Rob," and I'm like, I don't know who you are, because I've never met these people before. I only ever see them in chat.
Before you know it, you've got someone stalking you and getting the same flight as you and staying in the same hotel.
Yeah, with dodgy electronic equipment. It could have got us blown out of the sky. No, it was it's a cracking thing. And if you haven't been, go and try and make, you know, I mean, I took the Thursday and the Friday off from work so that we could go and spend the whole 3 days there. And next week I'm seriously thinking I'm going to actually go on the Wednesday, or even just do a whole week there. Yeah, maybe take Mrs. P as well, and she can do her thing, because she really wouldn't want. Well, I don't know. She might actually enjoy it, because there did seem to be a lot of people there that were just there because friends were there or their partners were there. Yeah, and there was enough there for lots of other people to enjoy, which I thought was very, very nice to see. It was a proper love fest. It's really nice.
Synthetic.
I'm trying to like your shoe as well. Oh, don't. It's bad enough.
Well, I will be there next year if they let me on the plane.
Yes. Well, we need to try and get you on one of the stages, don't we?
Yeah, I would love to play there. That'd be fantastic.
We need to try and get that. Try and make that happen.
I need to get my press officer Zoe onto that.
Yeah, come on, Zoe. Yeah. By the way, Zoe is the hotel booker that you want, because we all got into the hotel and literally checked into our rooms, and we get a message five minutes later from Jim with a picture of a bottle of wine in a little wine bucket and flowers or something.
Some Haribo.
Yeah. And he says, "Have you got this in your room?" And we're like, "No." It was probably because Zoe booked it for me. She did it on the fancy thing. Like, oh, jeez. So next year Zoe's booking our rooms. Yeah. So that was cool. I know if you want somewhere to stay in Berlin, we can highly recommend the Catalonia Berlin Mitte, which is in the Mitte district, and is like a 5-minute walk from one S-Bahn and a minute's walk to the U-Bahn. You can pretty much go anywhere you like from there. Really well placed. Didn't have the boat on this year, which they'd promised me, but that wasn't running. So there you go. Other than that, an absolutely brilliant time. And another donation there from Moggy Synth. Thank you for your show. Andrew, you can translate that. My German's gone. I used what little German I had. Ihr seid echte Berliner. I am a Berliner? No, that'd be. No, I don't know.
I am a hamburger.
I am a hamburger. Anyway, come on, Andy, translate. Come on, perform. We were walking around and we just thought, oh, we need Andy.
Yeah.
He'd be giving us a history lesson as well as translating everything for us. So yeah, Mr. Brooks, sort it out next year. So yeah, sorry you've not really kind of been involved in this too much, Kent.
Well, I wasn't there, was I?
Yeah, I know, but I just.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. There you go. There's a translation. You are real Berliners. Well, do you know, it's the second time I've been, and it really did feel very home-like. You know, you felt comfortable there. At no point did you feel threatened or a little bit,
No.
like a tourist. You know, it was just.
No, even the crackheads were quite polite.
Yeah.
So when Jim got out his little box,
to get his little box out.
and instead of saying cheers, was going Allah Akbar. He said, no, don't. No, say cheers. Say cheers, please. Stop.
So, yeah, there we go. Superbooth is over, done and dusted. The dates have been announced for next year. I've already got them in my calendar. If you want to go to Superbooth next year, the dates are... Oh, blimey, that went a bit fast. Thursday the 16th to Saturday the 18th of May 2024. Tickets aren't on sale yet. I think they go on a few months before. But get your hotels booked and your flights booked, and we will see you out there for sure. I'll make that happen. Didn't even have any currywurst, which I did promise I would introduce Ben to, because it is lovely, but I didn't even have any. Didn't have any time. So there you go. Oh, Carl Bedford says he's going to take us all to the Kit Kat Club, which was literally just around the corner from where our hotel was.
Was it? Oh.
And you know that shop? There was a shop 2 doors down from the hotel. He says, "Here, bring your latex, Robbie."
Oh yeah.
I don't need to. I'll just go to the shop.
Yeah.
Get
It
one of them there.
looked like it was Martin Gore's favourite place to buy his attire, didn't it?
It was like they'd taken a single strip of leather and made something from it that covered barely nothing. And there was plenty of those in the shop window. Very good. Anyway, look, we have gone massively over time, and we've still got an audience. How amazing is that? Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, thank you ever so much for joining us as we rambled, pretty much. It wasn't a huge amount of stuff, but if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button or the subscribe button, or both, if you're feeling generous. And we will be back same time, same place next week. I don't think Ben's going to be here either next week, because I think he's gigging, so he apologises for that. But yeah, we'll see hopefully we'll have a bit more news to talk about. Jim and I are on Jamie's show, and Ben will actually be on Jamie's show, because Jamie's kind of gathered a whole bunch of Superbooth, I say veterans, visitors, to kind of do a similar sort of thing on his show. So we'll talk about their experiences. I don't know who else is going to be on, but that'll be on at 7 p.m. UK time on Sunday. Before then, Rands is back with his show, 1 p.m. UK time, which I'm assuming will have Ian J. Cole and Andy Brooks and Darren, and I don't know who else might be on there. So you've got those to look out for over the weekend. Of course, Nick's back on Wednesday next week. I think the guys from Threeport Collective will be on Thursday, but that's very late our time. It's one for the Americans, that one. So yeah, plenty of stuff to catch up on. Of course, you can go through our extensive catalogue of previous shows that are all completely now unrestricted and available to everyone. Thank you, Apple. And again, I just want to say, if we met you at Superbooth and we haven't given you a shout out, I apologise. It was difficult to take all the names in, but thank you ever so much for making us welcome. Thank you for coming and saying hi. I hope you enjoy the show. We enjoyed doing it for you. Kent, anything? I mean, you've just taken in another CS80. I'm guessing your weekend is going to be
At the chiropractors.
Yeah.
I tell you what, the funny thing is I have 2 jobs to do tomorrow. One of them is a CS80 and the other one is a Casio CZY1. So
Well, there's 2 different ends of the
two
scale.
different ends of the scale, really, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's mental. But there you go. Yes.
I'll start on the Casio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be a pub tomorrow. I can't
Oh, there you
imagine
go, I was gonna
how
say.
PSN has distanced themselves now from that. Like so many other podcasts, they're just like, no, nothing to do with that. No, nothing to do with that.
Saturday night's not a great night for me, unfortunately, because it's like family time. But
Well, according to Elton John, it was.
yes,
But yes,
no, I will try and put in.
Yeah, this is the thing. Saturday nights is normally a good night, but then Thursdays wasn't always a good night either.
It's
so
never-
it's
never a great
it's
night
Never
for
a good
anything,
night,
is
is it? So,
Yeah.
or I suggested I should do one every single night. And I was like,
That's pushing it.
yeah. That's probably
Sorry,
pushing it.
Ramsey's at 2 p.m. UK time. Thank you for the clarification there. I just want to get that out
Yeah,
there.
but it kind of starts at 1, doesn't it? Really?
It does start a little bit beforehand, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay, Jimbo, you got any gigs this week?
Yeah, I
Or
have.
weekend?
Tomorrow, in fact.
Tomorrow?
So,
Where are you playing?
Playing at Locktronica Festival, which is like a micro festival.
Okay.
It's in Wirksworth in Derbyshire. There's a few regular EMOMers playing. There's also Mark Radcliffe's Oon
Yes.
headlining. Yeah, so they'll be playing tomorrow night.
They're
It's free-
scheduled to come on
yeah.
our show.
Excellent. It's free all weekend except for tomorrow night with Oon and their support act, but everything else is free. I'll be on at 4 p.m. tomorrow, so if anyone's in the vicinity and fancies a nice little free festival, and a nice sunny day and some good tunes, there's loads, really good EMOMers playing. So there's loads. It's going to be a really good weekend.
Yeah, cool stuff. Carl, I'd completely forgotten about Kent's brother. This is a visual gag, and I need to maybe, I don't know whether Carl can post the picture up, but it was funny. Kent, you have a doppelganger.
Do I indeed?
You do.
I have it on my phone.
That was very funny.
Actually get it.
It was very cool. Don't forget,
man.
tomorrow, if you are in the UK, and this is why I might not be around on the pub tomorrow, BBC Two in the UK are doing a Pet Shop Boys evening. There he goes. Let me just bring that up full screen.
But I haven't got a beard. Do I really look like that? Oh my god!
No,
No, you don't.
I look like
it was quite. It was. I think it was probably more amusing because we were beard up at the time. But yeah.
yeah.
it was quite
Okay.
So BBC Two tomorrow night. There's a whole bunch of Pet Shop Boys stuff on. So if you are into Pet Shop Boys, and if you're not, why not? Look, I don't know if you can see it. Hang on a minute. Alexa, lights cool. Alexa, lights cool.
Okay.
Oh no, it's just out of shot. There they are. Look, just there. My Funko Pop's Pet Shop Boys.
Ah,
Which weren't cheap. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, there's loads of stuff on BBC Two with the Pet Shop Boys tomorrow night, which is, set your recorder,
I
maybe.
shall.
Indeed.
Cool. I
Some
shall
good
go and
stuff.
check that out.
We'll be back same time, same place next week. I don't know who's going to be on the show. We've yet to sort that out. But we have got some great people. We've actually got, I can tell you now, we've got Florence Sabeva. Name might not ring a bell, but she is the main keyboard player and musical director with Heaven 17 right now. And she's a brilliant musician in her own right as well. So she's going to be coming on next month. That's one that we've been trying to get in the bag. Thank you very much, Martin, for the hookup. But we've got some other interesting people. lined up to come on the show. So as we kind of get into the summer months, it gets a little bit easier then. So yeah, do join us. If you haven't already, do please come and visit us at the Facebook page and sign up there, and you get all the information, notifications. Of course, if you hit subscribe, you'll get notified whenever we go live, which is always useful. Thank you to everyone who has joined us. Thank you, Jim, for coming on. Real pleasure to have
My
you
pleasure.
on. See you again on Sunday if I don't see you before. Kent, I will see you soon. I need to come and visit just because I can. Let me know when you got on those Soma things.
Yeah,
What is it?
the
Yeah, the terror. Yeah, I want to come and I want to fiddle with your terror.
Okay. Also, there's the possibility that I may have some DX1 after-touch sensors coming into my domain.
Okay,
Ah.
that'd be useful. Yeah, because she's a little bit poorly at the moment.
Yeah.
She's doing this thing where you turn her on, and and one of the relays, the audio relay, doesn't kick in.
Yeah.
And it was doing it for a little while where it would kick in after about 30 seconds. Now you have to turn it off and on again. And then the other day I had it on and it was clicking just like after about being on for about an hour. And it was knocking out the aftertouch, which was really weird. So I reselected the patch and the aftertouch came back. It's very odd. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but she's...
tripping out the logic.
Yeah, so I think it might be a power supply thing again. I don't know. Again. But I'll get my expert in, but yeah. Anyway, right, let's do it. Let's say goodbye properly now. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Kent. Thank you to everyone that's watching. We really appreciate the fact that you come back week after week. God knows why. But thank you. We love you. Thanks to everyone that we saw at Superbooth. Thank you to the people at Superbooth for putting on a fantastic show. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Until then, take the greatest of care. And we will see you in about a week's time. Bye-bye.